A tragic accident in New York City. A helicopter has crashed into the Hudson. 6 people have lost their lives. It was a tourism flight, and so it's particularly sad. We've also got another story of a minor collision at Reagan Airport, but of course people are quite worried about the consistency of these accidents, though I do think the minor collisions at the airport probably wouldn't make the news if it weren't for, you know, the other aviation accident news that's been in the press. Now, how do you think prominent liberals are reacting to the news that a helicopter crashed and it was a terrifying tragedy? They're blaming Trump. They're blaming Trump and the transportation secretary, and it's entirely predictable. So we're going to talk about that, of course. We've also got a bunch of other news. The GOP has passed the SAVE Act requiring proof of citizenship to vote, which is massive. Doge has uncovered babies getting unemployment insurance. That one's pretty great. Very interesting. And we've got a report now that Tesla sales are down. Yeah, Cybertruck sales are down. And the narrative is that people don't want to be involved with Tesla because of Elon's politics. I'm wondering if the reason they're not buying Teslas or selling them off is because they're scared of the terrorists. Well, we'll talk about all that, my friends. Before we do, head over to jackedupbrands.com. Yo, check this out. Jackedupbrands.com? Or is it getjackedup.com? There's 2 different websites, I guess.
Jackedupbrands.com.
Jackedupbrands.com is one we got. So, my friends, this is exciting. Look at this. Look at this at-home gym. This is amazing.
For $2,500?
Yeah, we're actually going to get one of these, and they take Bitcoin too. Super cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, my friends, Maha is here to stay. It's inspiring Americans everywhere to make fitness a priority again. That's why I'm excited to be working with Don and the team at Jacked Up Fitness, an amazing American company. In fact, they're just in D.C. delivering their flagship product, Indeed. The Jacked Up Power Rack Pro, for none other than RFK Jr. himself and his team to use at the HHS building. That's amazing. They were honored to make this donation. We're getting our very own Power Rack Pro. We're excited to have this awesome all-in-one gym that we can use here in the studio. Indeed, we have like a really weak power cage upstairs. No disrespect to it, but it's very rudimentary. So when they told me like, hey, they're going to send you this, I was like, shut up, because we're actually getting a bigger one. We're getting a different one from this. I don't know. They're giving us a crazier one. So if you're new to strength training, you want to get their Jacked Up program. It's a full body video workouts led by celebrity trainers Kim Lyons and Clark Bartram. You literally just press play and follow along. So listen, we're going to be doing this. You should too. Let's do it together. My friends, we've got the Maha movement, man. And we've got Timcast IRL. We are all about getting in shape. So this is particularly awesome. Go to getjackedup.com and sign up to access the program right now for free. And when you're ready to order your Power Rack Pro, save 10% using promo code POOL, P-O-O-L, P-O-O-L. No more excuses, guys. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with but a single step, and you are going to get ripped, and Danny is going to get ripped.
Yeah, baby.
Let's go.
Lightweight, baby.
All right. Also, we got coffee. Coffee's good for you. Go to castbrew.com, buy some coffee because it's delicious. You can get your 2 weeks till Christmas gingerbread. And actually, we got the Seamus's coffees back in stock. So get it while you can. These bags are not going to be on forever. Luck of the Seamus. I think we got a bunch. I think the art's the best part, to be completely honest. If you buy coffee, we appreciate you really supporting our work. But we know that there are many places you can get coffee. We think we do it better, but we make these really great bags with really cool pictures. So how about that? Don't forget to join our Discord server. Go to timcast.com, click join us for that uncensored call-in show, which I fully expect to be as spicy can be. Oh boy, on slow news days, apparently I'm the news. So everyone's yelling at me today, and it's a lot of fun. I matter. I matter when nothing else matters. It's like the tide of news goes down, and all that's left is me standing there, and everyone's like, let's yell at Tim Pool. He's stupid. And I'm like, well, here I am. So go to timcast.com, sign up, smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Danny Polishchuk.
Yo, what's up? How's it going?
Well, who are you?
I'm a comedian. I'm a podcaster, host of The Boys, co-host of The Boys Cast, and host of the greatest call-in show on the internet, Low Value Mail, every Monday night.
Right on.
Glad you're here, man. I'm amped for this Make America Healthy thing. I'm actually doing an intestinal cleanse right now. I wanted to bring it and show you.
It smells like you are.
It's made of cloves. Can you tell? No, I'm sorry. You know what? It's a parasite cleanse. I think they might be in the intestines.
That's great.
Cloves, black walnut hull, wormwood leaves, and stem milk thistle.
How you feeling?
Like I had a little bit of coffee, but without the body buzz. Like the mental clarity from the coffee without the body buzz. It's dosing hard, and I feel loose and like weak. It's crazy, dude. But you put in the work now, you reap the rewards later. So get to it. Get your gut healthy. Get your arms. Get your physiology in good health, because we need clear minds for what's coming.
What is coming?
a lot of change really fast. A lot of artificial intelligence obfuscation making people think.
I mean, that
things
AI
aren't real.
video of you guys is crazy.
Yeah, there's a third one just came out today.
Yeah, it's
And-
really
Oh,
good.
really?
It's incredibly well done.
We'll play that on the uncensored portion of the
Excellent.
show.
So sharper minds, healthy bodies.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's go.
Here's the story. This is a tragic story. We got this from the Post Millennial. 6 dead after helicopter crashes in the Hudson River near Manhattan. Due to a helicopter crash in the Hudson River, the vicinity of the West Side Highway and Spring Street expect emergency vehicles and traffic delays in the surrounding area. So there is video. 2 adults and 5 children were aboard the helicopter. That's very sad. That crashed into the Hudson in New York, and that's what this is. They believe that all people are dead. So it looks like 6 are dead, but there were 7 there, which is horrifying. Donald Trump has issued a statement saying terrible helicopter crash in the Hudson River. Looks like 6 people, the pilot, 2 adults, and 3 children are no longer with us. The footage of the accident is horrendous. God bless the families and friends of the victims. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy and his talented staff are on it. Announcements as to exactly what took place and how will be made shortly. So there are some images that have come out. You can see here, this is the principal, I don't know what you'd call that portion of the helicopter, the main body of the helicopter.
Yeah, the rotor came clean off too. There's like a
The tail's gone.
Yeah, the thing just like disintegrated in midair because like there's after it crashed, you see the rotor just kind of floating down.
Man, you were on your way here when the news broke, though.
I was on my way here, yeah, from New York. I was not.
Wow.
I was not.
It was interesting you said before the show that there's like a lot of helicopter tourism, or is it not just
Yeah,
tourism?
it's a big thing in Manhattan for tourists where basically there's all these helicopter companies where you can you go up in the helicopter and they just kind of fly you around Manhattan. You get this bird's eye view of the city. But then there's also these helicopter transportation. Like sometimes you can take a helicopter like in crazy traffic to JFK Airport and it's cheaper. I think it's called Blade. And it might be like the same price as an Uber.
Really?
Yeah, or like maybe like a little more. But like people, if you're like some hedge fund guy and you work in Greenwich, Connecticut, you're like, yeah, I could drive an hour and a half, or I can just drop a G and take the helicopter.
Yeah, I mean, if you were like, but I thought you said that it was like the same price as like an Uber, like.
Well, if to go to the airport,
It's like
sometimes,
it's like
like when it's
$200.
yeah, it's like yeah, sometimes like through
That's
through
totally worth it. If it's like $300 and
Yeah.
you're just like, oh man, I can go ahead
That's
and sit
Blade.
in traffic
It's
and
on
deal
the
with all the stuff.
Yeah, it's on the east side, like 34th Street area. Essentially, they have like a little pad.
I do think, however, most people would just spend the $5 for the train.
Yes. Although you know what,
Wow.
oddly in New York City, the airports are pretty inaccessible.
There was
by
a-
train. It's not like it's not just like a train straight there. It's you gotta take a train, like a bus.
but you can get a
train. It's,
You can train at JFK, can't you?
I don't think there's a direct one. It's like there's a train to near JFK, and then there's a bus.
Did anybody
Oh,
see
you're
the
right.
new-
You're right. Yep. It gets you
anybody see
close
the-
to JFK, and then you take
It
the
gets
bus.
you close, but
Anyone
you
see
can't.
the news thing today where there was a man arrested for having sex with a corpse on the subway?
Oh, I saw it.
in New York?
That's a good reason to not take the train.
But if you can afford the $200
Yes,
Uber,
Yeah.
$200
I mean, I take the
helicopter.
train almost every day. I've yet to see. I've seen a lot of stuff.
No sex
I haven't
with corpses?
seen sex with corpses.
I guess it's definitely.
But I've seen what I can presume to be a deceased person. But the problem is everybody in New York City is just so cold and where nobody checks to see, like, you just assume, yeah, the guy's probably passed out or something. But
I do think we're like socially dissolving.
yeah.
Because people are absorbing information from it's increasingly decentralizing. So even now, I mean, if you go back 10 years on YouTube, when YouTube was newish in the podcasting space, YouTube hated it. People got way more views than they get these days. I'm like talking about like Young Turks, for instance. Like their views are way low relative to where they used to be. Mm-hmm. Everybody has been decentralizing. Even, with all due respect, Joe Rogan's views appear to be lower than they were 4 or 5 years ago, because more and more channels keep emerging and people are seeking out their hangouts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like we're 5 years away from podcasts having, like 300 viewers, and it's just people basically hanging out with their buddies.
Yeah.
That's about it.
if you could monetize like residual monetizations, so like
Monetize the monetization?
yeah, so whereas one pod you might get like 5% of that podcast revenue, and then that guy gets 2% of your revenue. So there's these webs because it won't be about one guy gets all the views in the future.
You're doing like subprime mortgages for podcasts.
And I'll tell you, I got an idea for you, Danny. You're gonna make a lot of money. Let me
We're going to
tell you.
collateralize the loans.
Very
So
rich
imagine
man.
this. You mentioned, like, you've been going on about this AI stuff. because that dude made those comedy videos about us.
Yeah.
And you saw that too.
I mean, I'd make tons of AI videos.
I was talking to a media personality a few months ago who said, and it's not my business, but he was talking about how he's already preparing to do fully AI produced news videos.
Yeah.
So you will think you're watching him talk, and it's not going to be him.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, just even seeing that video today, like I've been making AI videos for maybe 6 months now, and the way it's changed just in the last 6 months, like how much better it's gotten. Like the video that guy made today, you couldn't make that 6 months ago.
Right.
We should maybe
So
we should play like 20 seconds for reference so people can see how crazy it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll get into a full thing.
Oh, we'll play it in the after show.
Yeah,
Go
we'll play it
sign
in
up.
the after. Well, just because it's extremely graphic and not for family.
Yeah, but it is like it looks like almost.
It's clearly AI. But
Yeah.
here's the thing: you can go into ChatGPT right now and say, "I bet I could do this right now. Write me a comedy bit in the style of Ryan Long."
Yeah.
And it'll do it.
Yeah.
And then all you got to do is write that and then plug it into the video and say, "Make Ryan Long say this."
Yeah, it won't be as good for sure because it's at the end of the day, it's still derivative.
Right, it'll be better.
But you, but you say you're like, hey, you say it's obviously AI. To you, it is. It's obviously AI. Pop that thing up on Facebook and tell me people think it's obviously AI.
Right. I mean, but we're a year away from it being perfect.
Yeah.
So I played for Allison the AI video, and she was like, "Oh, I thought you recorded that as a joke."
Yeah,
I told my parents.
Well, no, for sure. Like I had this one AI. I made this AI USAID 60 Minutes interview. It was
great.
And I put that on Facebook. It went viral on Facebook. Not one person knew it was a joke. And then one person was like, "This can't be real. This is so crazy." And then this woman would go in the comments and be like, "This is real. This is what they're doing."
Wow.
And I just realized something crazy. So YouTube has this feature where you can upload alternate language tracks.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen this?
Yeah.
What's stopping somebody from saying, okay, here, let's take a political issue, for instance. Let's talk about homeschooling or something. And then looking up the data on the opinion on homeschooling from Spanish speakers. Let's say, I don't know if this is true, but let's just say 80% of people who speak Spanish hate homeschooling. And they think people should be in school. Actually, let's invert it. 80% of Spanish speakers like homeschooling and want to be with the family. And then 80% of English speakers don't agree with homeschooling. What's to stop someone from making a video that's them saying in English, you could actually, here's the crazy thing, you could just show facts on homeschooling, and the English track says, homeschooling is not good. You shouldn't have your kids there. But if you play it in Spanish, it says homeschooling is good.
Yeah. Oh, easily. Yeah.
One video with two different messages
And
for
it's
different demographics.
the crazy thing is it's so cheap to make these videos. Like the compute required, like that video today, like $10 maybe $5 of compute, depending on how many times you need to render it. Like it's not even like prohibitive in any way. You don't need a special computer, nothing.
People were saying people want to watch it while we're talking. It's the real Dylan Danger on Twitter. You can find his stuff. He's great.
I don't know how we got into this, considering we were talking about
because well, what I was to keep going. We'll probably realize why this came up as we keep going. That people keep saying, learn how to use AI. Learn how to use AI. The future is learning, because you're not going to have to do a show, dude. You just make your AI do it.
Well, we were talking about decentralization in media and how it's going to become super isolated. And we're going to get to the point where, like, I swear, we're already seeing this now. It starts with edited videos, Donald Trump and the Very Fine People hoax. Now with AI, we're there. Like you were saying, go on Facebook and see if someone believes it's fake or not. They're going to believe it's absolutely real.
Yeah.
You can make whatever you want.
Have you ever seen that Alfred Hitchcock interview from like probably, I don't know, the 50s or something? And he's talking about the future of movies. And he's like, he's like, in the future, there's going to be a movie where you go to a theater and you're the main character. Right? Like, and for every person, they're the main character, and you watch this movie and you're the main, and like he said this in like the 50s.
I bet
Those exist with VR. I've seen a movie where you like are going through the movie. You can 360 watch the movie.
No. You're
been
not
on for a
inside of it. You're watching it, and you're the lead.
Or you can talk to them. And
No. You're just watching a movie. It's a written movie. You're the lead. Like you.
know,
it's about the lead.
I'll one up Hitchcock. I think we're to the point where it's going to be like a VR world video game movie where they're reacting to you in real time.
Yeah.
But your version, Hitchcock's version, may happen first.
But I'm saying he said that in the 50s, and now I'm like, because he did that in 5 years.
So right now, if I go to ChatGPT, there's a certain degree of like notoriety you have to have.
Yeah.
So if I wrote write a script about homeschooling in the style of Tim Pool. It actually does, and it's gotten better. Sure, here's a Tim Pool-style script about homeschooling, mixing his signature tone of skepticism, cultural commentary, and populist edge.
Hey, it's shot.
So here's the deal, guys. The public education system is collapsing, really. Test scores are plummeting, schools are pushing insane ideological garbage, and parents are fed up. And you know what? They're pulling their kids out in record numbers. Since 2020, homeschooling has nearly doubled. This is what it's claiming. Sounds like me.
Yeah.
I could see you saying this stuff.
And if I did all of my videos without me on camera, I could just have an AI voice do it.
Yeah, the problem is it's not going to make quite like the points that you want to make. It'll still be like a watered. Like I made this video. Did you see Elon Musk did that Tesla event recently, and it looked like he was doing stand up? Do you see that? Like anyways, I made an AI because I was like, he looks like he's doing stand up. So then I made an AI video of him doing stand up. But then I wanted it to be like kind of hacky. So then I went into Chat GPT and I was like, write me a hacky script of Elon Musk doing stand up, and it still wasn't good. Like in Grok, I'm like, this is even too bad.
Can you be like, make it better? Not good enough?
It's just like comedy. I know some comedians do use Grok and like AI for like ideas, but actually like the punchlines, all you're gonna get is like pretty generic stuff.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to the helicopter thing, because the main point here was, believe it or not, my friends, as we're dealing with a very tragic incident, prominent liberal activists are blaming Trump.
Yeah.
So you got Brooklyn.
You know, there was no helicopter crashes during the Biden administration.
The Orange Man is bad.
That's right. You got Brooklyn Dad Defiant. Is this actually his account? Because this looks like, 1.3 million followers. And he says, yet another deadly aviation incident under the Trump administration. It's only been 80 days, feel like years. You've got call to activism. Why the F is this happening so much after Trump became president? You got JoJo from Jersey. Maybe we'd have fewer aviation accidents. And the Secretary of hot tub sexportation. What was focusing his time?
I don't know what that's a reference to.
I don't know, but she's crazy.
Yeah. Also, aviation accidents are not up. Because when that plane flipped in Toronto, I have a group chat, and we were like, "Are aviations up?" And then accidents, and then we started looking into it, and they're not.
I can't remember one of the data. I think fatalities are up.
Yeah.
But the number of accidents is not. It's like,
I mean, a
these were worse.
commercial airliner crashing in the United States is incredibly rare.
Yeah,
right.
I think before the one in DC where the helicopter collided with it or whatever, before that, the last one was the one in New York with like Sully. And then it was and then it was 9/11 before that. Like these aren't frequent occurrences.
You got to keep in mind too that if Boeing has been, remember that Boeing whistleblower came out and then like died. He was going to testify in front of Congress and was dead within a week.
Accidents happen.
Accidental suicide, I guess. But basically, that could be 10 years later. Like you see Boeing messing with their equipment, or any airplane company, if there's malfeasance, you're not going to see it the same. Like if the administration overseeing that company, was 8.
I mean,
10, 12,
I have
15 years
a guy. He's an airline mechanic, commercial airline mechanic that calls into my call-in show sometimes, and he told me, he's like, if for the commercial stuff, the regulations are so crazy. Like there's no corners being cut, like nothing. Like it's so strict. Most of the accidents are if someone owns like a Cessna and there's no requirements. You can maintain that however you want, and those are generally like.
Is that what happened with this helicopter? Is it private?
Yeah, it's just like a tourism company.
Bro, ever go to Jersey City? I went to Jersey City with Allison, and they got a helicopter tour there, and it was scary.
Yeah.
Because it was like the helicopter is just a tin can.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like we were sitting in it, and I'm just like, this is 2 millimeters of steel or
My
something.
dad told me once the Vietnam helicopter pilots would call it the Jesus bolt or the Jesus nut, that nut that holds the rotor in. And if that thing comes out, you're praying to God that thing doesn't
Have you
come
been
out.
in a helicopter?
Negative.
No.
So just me and Tim.
Huh. Yeah. They got helicopter tours that fly over Jersey City, and it's pretty unnerving.
Yeah.
It's like a small
They
helicopter.
have the doors open and
Serge.
stuff.
No, I don't
Some
think
of the New York ones, Manhattan, like you can open the door and really like
You're
feel
strapped in?
Like you're strapped in, and you feel like you're just like above Manhattan kind of thing.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, we all know this is purely political, and that Donald Trump and Doge somehow caused the aircraft to not.
Oh, I thought the same thing about Biden when that other plane crash happened. I'm just kidding. I don't joke a lot, so it sounds really weird when
we can tell.
not on TV anyway.
Yeah, I think we're entrenched in decentralized media.
Yeah.
as well as extreme tribalism.
Yeah. I mean, look, if a water main bursts, someone's going to be like, Trump.
Do you guys remember when, what was that thing? Jackson Hinkle is his name, I think?
Yeah. He came on our show.
We had him on before, but there was some tweet he had about GTA where he said it was woke because of Israel or something.
Okay.
It was something like that. And I'm just like, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Correct. Yeah.
Brooklyn Dad Defiant, JoJo from Jers, these other activists, these other liberals, they don't have anything else to talk about.
Yeah.
So if something's big in the news, it has to be Donald Trump related.
Sure.
Which is fortunate for us because as we're politically minded and something's in the news, they made it Donald Trump related for us.
Sure.
I mean that somewhat facetiously, but it's kind of true.
I mean, when your approval rating's 20%.
Yeah,
whatever
the Democrats are
right now.
suffering.
I mean, they're just grasping at straws right now. They go, I don't know, is this something?
Yeah.
A helicopter crash?
An earthquake's going to happen. It's like today was a particularly slow news day.
Orange man bad earthquake.
Yeah, they're going to be like the earthquake happened because Donald Trump is fracking.
Yeah.
Like they're going to find a way
of
to
course.
make it the thing.
You make a good point that it makes it easy for shows like this to persist because outside influences like make it political. So you make money off of it. People want to. We already know what we're talking about with politics a lot of times. I mean, you particularly know a lot about it.
Yeah.
So
and look, there's people
but
on the
it's not-
right who do the same thing.
What's that?
Like, there's people on the right when Biden was in office and that happened.
Yeah.
They go, oh, Biden did this. You go, it's just like.
So it's profitable, and it's like, yeah, well, I'm going to ride this cow, but at the same time, it's not healthy for the human psyche, to
No,
constantly be
it's also like
refocusing
a
on politics.
Family
every
of
time a
5
problem
died, and you're like, yeah, Trump. You're like, all right.
Yeah,
That's
I just came in and they were playing catch down there. Did you guys see that? You guys were down there playing catch. They're playing wiffle ball, baseball,
foam ball,
and it reminded
a
me
grand
of,
slam.
of just throwing a ball back and forth. And like, how many kids? We're talking about kids with social anxiety and problems. How many kids throw catch
None.
these days? That's a big problem because that is the most ancient human evolutionary thing we have is throwing. It
Yeah.
separated us from the rest of the animal kingdom.
That's why I'm like, with everything Trump's doing, I'm just like, bring it on.
Yeah.
This country needs a cultural hard reset or something. So me and the boys were in Chicago. This was over Christmas, and we were walking around downtown. And we came across this building that had ledges and stuff, and I was like, wow, you could skate here. And I'm like, where are all the kids at? And my buddies from Chicago were like, kids don't go outside anymore.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
They're skating in Roblox.
they're not doing anything at all. They're literally sitting indoors doing nothing.
Just rotting on a computer somewhere.
Dude, it's going to be really weird in 20 years. Like, people do not understand the scrolling, the TikTok generation. Look, it's one thing when we're like the podcast generation, where the media we consume is long form conversations, 2 hours long, and we all bragged about it for years. We were like, we don't watch these sound bites on Fox News and MSNBC and CNN. We get hours long, deep conversation from prominent individuals. And now it's right back to people are swiping through YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, and they're getting their news in 30-second clips that are often completely out of context.
The movie industry too apparently is evolving to 1 minute shorts. Like it'll be a 90-minute movie, there'll be 91 minute shorts, and that's the movie.
Awful.
You know, you were saying the things have devolved back into swiping. There's a reason why, you know, network news became what it was, right? Like there used to be 60 Minutes that had like longer form interviews and stuff like that. But the reason is because people don't want to pay attention to long. Not that there isn't an audience, because obviously Joe Rogan's still out there and there are still podcasts that do. But the majority of people find it easiest to consume news like that.
Yeah.
Small bits. What do I need to know? And so that way I can get through my
tons
day
of
or
little
whatever.
dopamine hits, and you go
Exactly.
on to here's some sports highlights. Here's some.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that again. I'm not saying that there aren't people that are looking for long form stuff, because obviously there are tons of people, but young people that aren't interested in the getting into in-depth stuff, they're going to be looking for give me the little bit of news as fast as I possibly can. And that's why, again, it went from that kind of format on the news with 3-minute hits on your hour long or half hour long news program. Now people went to the big long form, and now it's back to TikTok stuff.
You know what's interesting is I was just thinking about like the actual physical tribalism. You get a big continent like the United States and you get a bunch of tribes, and what happens? Well, depending on the density of the population, one person conquers all those other tribes, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, is there a reality, is there a possibility where with all of the media spaces decentralizing and people getting their news and information from smaller and smaller channels, will there be a point at which one person comes and dominates every platform? No, it's not possible in the media landscape.
like you got Daily Wire tries to like bring big talents in and create an umbrella. Rumble is sort of, but it's a platform, so it's not really claiming ownership.
Yeah,
of
it's just a
anything.
platform.
But this
It's
is
a distribution network.
So Rumble this is different. I'm saying, will it come to a point where everybody turns to one person for
No, there's just so many options. Like, everybody has such varied tastes and, everybody likes different things. And
I think the reality is that people are just going to choose to listen to what makes them feel good.
yeah, I mean, some people are still like to watch MSNBC, all 30,000 of them.
I heard today people don't follow. This is from Chase Hughes. He's great. He's brilliant, like ex-military behavioral scientist, and he's saying that people don't. I think it was Chase saying this. People don't follow the best person. They follow the one that's giving them the clearest command, direction, and that can.
I mean, for me, I'll follow somebody, and then the moment I catch them and where I'm like, this is a trusted source, and then I catch them in something that's obviously a lie, and I go, okay, I can't trust you anymore.
But I think we MSNBC still has viewers.
Of course.
So even when you can, and people talk about this all the time with their parents, are like, I can show my aunt the video and she doesn't care. So there will be factions of people who are interested in nuanced conversation, but I think it's substantially less than most people realize.
Yeah, and if you look at MSNBC's ratings, probably the 25 to 49 demo is not looking good. It's only a matter of time.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's probably 10,000.
I'm fascinated with the other segment of people. You got the people that are falling into the 1 minute short, 30-second soundbite reality, and then these other people are going 2 times speed, 2.5 times speed, or 1.75, whatever. You watch long form faster.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting evolution. And it's like these
soon we're just going to be able to upload the whole thing to your brain.
And just
soon it's just going to be full Rogan episode, 4-hour talk, and just goes.
That's true.
That's it.
I mean, if you can just bend the pathways to form the memory.
You just brute force it into your brain.
It's the read-write thing.
Play at it times 9 million speed, and it's just in there.
I've been looking at a bunch of different American subcultures, and it's not just media. Media's obviously the space we're in right now. And so I can say people are getting their views from a bunch of different people. Every single day, new channels emerge, new audiences emerge, and over a long enough period of time, more channels means less market share for everybody else. But it's affecting literally everything, right? Somebody was super chatting about Frisbee golf, having no audience and having no money. There's no American pastime anymore.
No.
Obviously it was baseball for a while.
Baseball's still doing okay.
It's doing okay, but I don't know how many people, I mean, it's literally, I'm not saying nobody does. I'm saying I don't know how many people are actually going to these events anymore.
I mean, actually, you know what? The MLB just canceled their deal with ESPN because the ratings were abysmal. And
Wow.
And they were charging them, money based off of 10 years ago viewership.
But that's what I'm saying because, we've been talking about maybe going to a baseball game for a long time. We just never do it.
Dude, watching AI is going to make you plenty of baseball games.
Oh man, I have the Oculus, and they have this thing where I can't remember what it's called, but it's an app, and there's the NHL and the NBA. There's an MMA one where for the NHL one, you're literally on the glass, first row on the glass, and then when the puck goes down the ice, it just a camera switches, and you're at center ice. And then when the puck gets to the other end of the ice, now you're back on the glass, first row. It's incredible. When you see it and you go man, this is borderline preferable to going to a game.
The AI stuff is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
I've been saying for a while, it's closer than we realize where you're going to have Disney, it's going to be called procedural Disney or something. And maybe a better word than that for marketing purposes.
They call it Disney World.
Yep. Disney Life.
They should.
And you're gonna open up your app on the TV and you're gonna click the microphone button and say, Spider-Man and Hulk Hogan are best friends, and it's a rom-com.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna be processing, and it's gonna take a few minutes, and then it's gonna make the movie.
Could you imagine you go to VR theme park and it's a complete world that it's not. There's no borders at the theme park.
AI generated virtual realities.
Oh, for sure. There was a video I saw this week actually of some guy. He made Tom and Jerry videos. Did you see those? Someone made AI Tom and Jerry videos. Now the prompts for them, the future of dominating this stuff is gonna be for the people who can figure out how to prompt it properly, because the prompts were insane, literally. Yeah. Pages of prompts to get these 2-minute videos, but the videos were amazing.
So do they use AI to write the prompts? For
No.
Can you?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
No. That's how I make. So I've been posting comics to my Instagram, and all the purists are angry. They're like, "This is AI garbage. Don't do it." But they convey the idea that I want, and so what I do is I'll go in ChatGPT and I'll say, I'll write a short paragraph about the idea, but I never tell it to make the comic. It wastes your time. What I tell it to do is write a script like this. And so for the comic I made yesterday, where it's the guy who walks up to X, the headquarters, and says, "What's this?" Then he goes inside, everyone's screaming to have their lungs. Then he's like, "What the hell?" And then he runs out and he's like collapsing. I wrote, a man goes to X, HQ. When he goes inside, everyone's screaming, "Ah!" He then freaks out as everyone's yelling at him. And then the next panel is him on the ground with his hands on his head. Write the script. It writes it out. And then you have to go in and say, okay, change this and change this and change this because it gets it wrong.
Yeah.
Then you tell it to generate the comic, and then 15 iterations later, it makes one that's viable.
Right. And you got to put in the camera, like the stuff, like you have to put in the prompts, like camera moves like this way, like tracks this person. Like it's got to be incredibly specific.
So you'd probably build an AI that is like a center mode AI that you could be like, all right, AI, write me a script for Suno, and you designate what other AI program it's going to be writing a script for, and then it'll be able to...
It's called agentic AI, so it's going to be an AI that's specifically for making videos, right? Like that's one of the things that they're working on now. There's not likely going to be an AGI in the very near future, but some kind of agentic AI, an agent, something that does something for you. That kind of stuff is getting really, really good. And so you'll have an AI that knows how to make videos. So you'll be able to give it basic prompts, and then it'll do a lot of the behind the scenes work for you because it's designed specifically to make videos. And then you're going to eventually have AI in your phone that knows how to operate your phone. So you'll say, it'll be like, the whole like, hey, I'm not going to say it. I don't want to turn everyone's machines on. But you tell your phone, I want to go to New York this weekend. I need a flight. I need a hotel. I need a ride to and from the airport. And I want to eat sushi when I get there. And it'll do all that stuff.
That probably already...
Well, the thing is, it can't pay for it yet.
Oh, it can't pay for it.
It can do the itinerary.
Right.
But that's why you have to have the cross availability in the phone, so that way it can use all the apps in your phone to do all of the things.
Yeah, we're not far from that.
That stuff is very, very close. And so, like, agentic AI will do all the stuff that Tim's talking about, how he has to be really detailed, or that Danny was talking about. You have to be really detailed. That detail will become something that AI handles for you.
Yeah, it'll almost start prompting you.
Yes.
It'll say like, do you want this? Do you want this? So you won't even need to know the prompts because it'll essentially say, what about this? What about this? And you'll just have a conversation, and then it'll be like, how about this?
And the same thing for script writing.
Everything.
Bounce back at you and be like, well, what do you think if you tried?
Yeah, for sure. For everything.
Let's jump to this next story from the New Republic. Oh, this is my favorite headline. 4 Democrats pass bill making it harder for married women to vote. Would anyone like to take a crack at what the story actually is?
It's about voter ID because the last name, if you change your last name, they say that it makes it more difficult to vote.
This is how Democrats convey information to people.
Yeah.
And this is this is about the SAVE Act, that you need proof of citizenship to vote. That's it. If you want to vote and you're registering to vote, you got to prove you're a citizen. You can do that in a variety of ways.
Which sucks for me.
Good.
Well, because I'm not a citizen, and I look forward to voting in every election.
It's unfortunate for you.
This is the problem we
look forward
have
to it too.
in this country with the decentralization of media. There is an audience for this, and they are now sitting there going, but what? They don't want women to vote? And they're going to believe it.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is like makes
But
me
the
think
Democrats don't want women to vote?
Yep.
Like, because this is like actually kind of skewering the Democrats here.
That's
Indeed.
because that's because the Democrats allowed the bill to pass.
Yeah.
They stepped out of line.
They stepped out of line.
But so then there's all these Democrats who are like, yeah,
Now,
the
again,
Democrats don't want women to vote?
This topic in the United States is one of those 80-20 topics. Americans, by vast majorities, say we want to make sure that only American citizens are voting. But yet,
Totally reasonable.
the media, and not only is it reasonable, it's something that's basically ubiquitous worldwide, except for in the United States. But the media is twisting it so that you can't even say that this is trying to inform people. This is pure propaganda, and it's counter to what the American people want. Every single poll they do, it turns out 75%, 80%, 70%. They all say we want to have voter ID, some kind of voter ID.
So is it a lock? You need voter ID to vote now?
Not yet. I don't know if this is the.
I'm trying to find anywhere in the article where it actually says women can't vote, but it doesn't. It literally does not.
The argument
They're
is
just lying.
that because if you're a woman and you're married, you change your last name, there'll be a discrepancy on your birth certificate compared to what your ID says, and that might disadvantage.
Do you need two forms of ID? Like your ID's not enough?
No.
Look at this. It says some claim that requiring proof of citizenship is too onerous a burden, or that it will disenfranchise those whose names have changed for reasons like marriage.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to enter into a contract and they go, ma'am, that's not your real name.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I could see them if also with like mail-in voting, if they're like, we're going to make you vote in person, they're making it more difficult for people to vote.
Well, that's exactly.
I mean, there are some like infirm people who like probably cannot physically vote who should be allowed to. But yeah, obviously, if you can vote, like you should.
Infirm.
I guess if there's a medical reason that they can't get to the poll.
There's some, like imagine you're like an elderly person and you're like, I don't know, it's really.
I'm open to that.
Yeah. Well, but this is nonsense. And here's the thing: I say this is nonsense. I'm actually not in favor of women voting. Period.
There you go.
And I'm still this is nonsense.
If we could get rid of, we could find some way to disenfranchise women, it would be a good start. All right, because we need more than just women.
I'm the woman in here, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
I think
going to be the woman for this conversation, guys.
I think that there should be a lawsuit. It is absurd to me that women have the right to vote, but can't be conscripted.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Equal rights, equal responsibilities. Conscription doesn't mean we want women on the front line. It means they can be working in offices or doing something. But the idea, the scenario this creates is that women can vote for war knowing they have no responsibility for it.
What about women with no kids could be drafted?
Nope. Men have kids too.
Yeah, but men don't have to
do what?
The reason,
listen, the reason that the draft exists. Listen,
I mean, honestly, the women with kids are probably a little hardened compared to the ones.
They're tougher.
The ones with no kids, you're like, what are you going to do?
Take care of the cats? The draft exists, right? The reason the draft exists is because they need infantrymen. Well, what about that's the vast majority of people that get drafted? They're just rifle. They get put in the position of rifleman.
Stand in front.
The World War II draft. I'm pretty sure there
was very little draft in World War II because dudes were signing up.
Yeah, everybody was like geared.
Yeah, they were like, let's go.
Everybody was like 12-year-olds were like lying and saying they were 18.
No, women stayed home because they went into the jobs that the men left.
Right, the industrial sector, like Rosie the Riveter is a famous picture of that woman making a pump in her arm, and because it was all factory workers, but they weren't. You're saying they weren't drafted into the factory; they just filled the void.
It was the wartime effort.
Exactly.
You know, have you ever seen that video of the Vietnam draft that was on TV? They like televised it like a game show. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Really?
Literally, you can look at it. It's on YouTube. Literally, it looks like a game show. It's from like the 60s, and they
the
call
lottery.
Everybody's number. Everybody had a number based on birthday.
Draft lottery.
And if you were first, you were going right.
This
This
Vietnam.
A live report on tonight's picking of the birth dates for the draft. Here at Selective Service Headquarters in Washington is CBS News correspondent Roger Mudd.
Roger Mudd.
Good evening.
Let's just jump ahead.
29 years, barring deferments. The next birthday in order, April 24th. And so on down the line this evening.
So wait, how did it work?
So if you were the first birthday, you were like, you're going like right away.
But like everybody with that birthday?
They pulled,
It was all the 18-years first, and then they did all the 19-years-olds with the birthday, and then all the 20-years-olds with the birthday.
But like if you
I think
were the
that's how it worked, or something
365th
like that.
birthday, like obviously if you're in college, but if
But what I mean, like when you went to basic training on the draft, everybody had the same birthday?
I guess your group probably. I could be wrong about this, but
crazy.
I don't know if it was by age. I think it was just if you're that birthday, you're the first up.
I'd love to have it. Was so basically say.
Dude, imagine the dread if you're watching this and you don't want to go and they just call your birthday.
Canada, they were joining the Navy.
Call your birthday.
People were saying they were gay to get out of the military back then.
Yeah, it works.
That's the thing. The reason that people were doing things like joining the Navy or trying to flee is because they knew that you get drafted and you go into the infantry.
Yeah.
You
go into the meat grinder.
jungle into Cambodia.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Until they
Someone's
come at
getting
night.
picked.
Cambodia was secret stuff.
24.
There were some dudes in Cambodia.
Yeah, but they were secret.
Anybody's birthday called yet?
April 24th.
You get drafted.
Anybody here's birthday called yet?
Nope.
April 24 is 002.
And like if you know somebody with that.
So these are individual people?
No, what'll happen is they call
if you're eligible to be drafted, which was I guess what all American men of
18 to 25
of a certain age, And then if you were slot number 1, you guys are like the next up.
It was all the 18-year-old slot number 1. Then they go to slot number 2, and it was all the 18-year-olds from slot number 2 birthday. Then all the 18-year-olds from slot number 3 birthday. Then when they're all done, they'd go back and be all the 19-year-olds from slot number 1, all the 19-year-olds from slot.
They would re-pick a birthday for slot number 1 again.
They just keep, as far as I know, it was the same order. And then it would be, they'd go down the list again for all the 19-year-olds.
I mean, if that's the case, then if you're an 18-year-old, you're like, oh my God.
Will be drafted.
Brutal.
So for number
The fact that
35,
I guess they had to televise it back then, but
August 24th,
and I could what a way to. Yeah, I didn't know if it was by
May
18.
13th, December 10th,
I think they took the 18-year-olds first.
July 13th, December 9th.
They took.
August
What a way to look at
16th,
that.
August
Isn't that
2nd,
crazy
November
though?
11th,
Just to be watching this with your family.
August.
Would you guys, if you got drafted, would you go?
To Nam, I would have fled. If I knew what they knew, what we know now, I
did.
never would have went into that
You didn't
jungle.
know that.
I mean, I would have tried to avoid it.
I mean,
You know why the draft?
they knew by like
You
67.
know why they got rid of the draft?
No, why?
It doesn't work.
Oh.
When they, it might work for something like your homeland is under attack, but one of the reasons I can't remember. We actually had someone on the show who was telling us about this. When they sent the troops, the conscripts to Vietnam, they would fire above the tree line and intentionally miss the Vietnamese because they didn't want to kill people.
Yeah.
Because it was like a bunch of scared young men who weren't trained and didn't know how to fight. They had to change the way they were training people, and they realized like you need people to choose. And so I was talking to, I can't remember what time, this was a long time ago, I think a politician, that they decided economics would be the vector by which they bolster the military by money.
Yeah.
They were like, bad economic conditions are good for wartime efforts. So they control the Fed, they control the interest rates, put people in a bind, crank up unemployment, offer them good jobs, and you will fill up your military.
Sounds like what's going on in Canada right now.
Is that what they're doing?
Well, the unemployment rate's pretty high. It's 7% in Canada right now. And,
Drafting people?
I mean, there is it's not a lot, but there is some Canadians who are like, yeah, if Trump tries to come in here, like, and you go, with what guns?
Well, I mean,
Yeah, but like the view of Canadians is like, in America, you've got SEAL Team 6, like a helicopter flies in the middle of the night, a bunch of dudes in night vision goggles jump down, and then Canadians are like sitting there riding a moose around, drinking maple syrup.
I mean, the Canadians actually did do pretty well in Afghanistan.
and in World War II.
In World War II, but I'm
the
saying
third largest.
Is it true you guys carry a hip flask of maple syrup?
No, I'm not a big maple
yeah,
syrup.
you get that was the IVs. If you get shot, they put the IV in.
You put it
maple
You put it on topically on the wound.
Yeah, like honey.
topic.
Yeah, just kind of.
It might actually work.
like the stuff that they put on a boxer.
If you're in the military, you know that the solution is Motrin and fresh socks.
You wanna know something
no matter
crazy?
what happens. Whereas in Canada, the solution is rub some maple.
You want to know how
syrup on.
bad the military situation is in Canada?
Sure.
So in the United States, the United States has what, like 350 to 400 million people, depending on. There's 90,000 IRS agents in the United States for 350 million people. In Canada, the Canada Revenue Agency, which is the equivalent, there are 60,000 Canada Revenue agents for 40 million people, and there are 60,000 people in the military.
Wow. Looks
Isn't
like
that
the bigger
crazy?
threat is tax fraud.
Yeah, but like we have 60,000. The U.S. has 90,000 and a population of almost 10x.
I just want to stress, it says not to put maple syrup on a wound.
There's a lot of sugar in it.
I don't
Sugar-
appreciate
it's-
these
it's
anti-Canadian
sugar and water.
stats.
Sugar and water, so it will feed and grow bacteria. Whereas,
that's
whereas honey
Especially Manuka
has
honey.
no water in it and is just glucose, so it suffocates and dehydrates.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It says medical grade Manuka honey has methyl glyoxal,
B propaganda.
which kills bacteria.
Yeah, it's pro-B propaganda.
Maple
Pro-B
syrup,
propaganda
so much.
right here. Anti-Canadian pro-B.
Well, the Canadians have a strategic maple reserve. That's true.
I mean, there was a crazy
maple heist.
Maple heist, yeah.
What happened?
Like something, I don't know, $30 million worth of maple syrup was stolen.
Oh,
What are you doing with all that maple syrup?
Sell it on the black market, baby.
To who? Pancake
Probably Americans. Probably
breakfast joints?
comes down in like a tanker and they go, oh, it's just oil.
We got Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire.
Do you think that the Canadian military is just small because the United States has been basically
That's a
serving as
part of it. They don't fund it. They're very demoralized. Like for my call-in show, I've had, because I talk about the whole Canada thing a lot, like what's going on, and I've had at least 6 active members of the Canadian military who are like, yeah, we already have our white flags ready if anything goes down because we're not fighting for this.
Yeah, it sounds like they don't. There's not much.
Very demoralized. I mean, they were like their priorities the last 10 years under Trudeau was like making sure that the Canadian military had tampons in the men's bathroom.
Dude, what is
They have like
going on?
three
clown
rusted.
show.
They have like 3 rusted out submarines. Like they have no infrastructure.
And then Poliev comes in and he's like, "I'll give you hope," and people are like, "Yeah, but we're scared of Trump, so we're going to vote for the other guy."
Yeah, I mean he's done. Like right now in the betting markets, Mark Carney's close to 80%.
I hear he's like we're like an uninformed dude. I don't know a lot about.
Well, he was the head of the Bank of England and the Bank of Canada. He did a pretty bad job with the Bank of England. He did
Very
an okay job in the Bank of Canada.
You know,
in bed with the Chinese too, I hear.
World Economic Forum guy.
Yeah.
you know
that's
what's actually pretty fascinating is that as insane as everything is right now politically, people are totally numb,
Yeah.
completely numb to what's
Fog of
going on.
war.
Let me pull up this story right here. This is from Mediaite. Supreme Court orders Trump administration to retrieve man who was mistakenly deported. This is the man that was determined by a judge to be part of the MS-13 gang. They say Abrego Garcia. The government had alleged that he was in MS-13. He did have an order for removal, but also had an order of protection. The Trump admin said that, well, he had the order for removal. That's why he got removed, but we made a mistake because we didn't realize he had this protective order stopping the deportation. Supreme Court is now saying Trump has to bring the guy back.
Yeah.
Let me just stress. What they're basically saying is, if I was the judge, I'd be going, Danny, I hereby order you to have Ian give me $10.
Yeah.
It's like, what? How do I do that?
because he's already in an El Salvadorian prison. That you're
He's
saying
an El Salvadoran in El Salvador.
Well, yeah. Is
What authority does Trump have to be
is he
like-
from El Salvador?
I'm pretty sure he's in El Salvador.
Or he's from, like,
yeah,
Venezuela?
he's from El Salvador.
And
Oh,
was
okay.
this the guy
Gilmar
that was
Abrego Garcia is an El Salvadoran who was sent to El Salvador.
And so what, he had a valid asylum claim? Because he had an order of deportation.
No, he had an order of deportation, and then they filed something, and a judge put a stay on it for like 5 years or whatever.
Gotcha.
He got deported, and now they're saying, no, you got to bring him back. How is Trump supposed to go to a foreign country and say, give me one of your citizens? And they're going to say, why? And he's going to say, because our courts ordered him back.
Yeah, he's not allowed to be in the United States, but we're going to bring him back.
Well, the courts want him back, even though he's subject to deportation later on.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, what? So hold on. Are you extraditing him as per an extradition treaty? No, he's not actually accused of any crimes in the country. Just
Yeah.
entering illegally, for which the penalty is what? Deportation.
I'd have to do him a favor and send him to Gitmo.
Well, El Salvador's not going to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. This is again, this is uncharted territory for a lot of this stuff. So they probably don't have anything in place, any mechanism in place. It's never happened before.
So we're getting stories like this endlessly that are unprecedented. And still, news-wise, based on media trends, advertising, it is a typical post-election year with nothing special about it.
Yeah,
So the terrifying thing is people adapt to their circumstances, which is not the terrifying thing, but from this, insane things happen, and it's normal to people.
yeah. Well, they made us believe that it was normal for like men to play with women's sports. So this is just the other side of that
Still
coin.
They
I
tried.
know. Did you see the pool thing in England?
Oh, yeah, two men are...
pool championships, and it's 2 men.
Yeah, the women's pool championships is 2 guys.
Yeah.
So, my point is like, this is unprecedented. That a president is being ordered to instruct a foreign country to give one of their citizens to us who's not who's not accused of a crime in this country, except for illegal entry to the country, for which the penalty is deportation. So they'd send him here, we'd send him back. It makes no sense. The general media trends are as if nothing is happening.
Yeah, I mean, Canada will take this guy. I know that for a fact.
I tell you, dude.
Yeah.
Canada will gladly take this guy.
Who's your
especially
current
if
prime
Mark Carney? Mark Carney.
Oh, and he's going to win.
He's the current prime minister. He's the interim prime minister for Justin Trudeau, but he's like got a huge lead in the betting markets, which called the last election to a T. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that he's pretty much a lock.
Wow.
Yeah, it was supposed to be this other guy, but apparently
Pierre Poliev, Mark Carney was like 10% on Polymarket 2 months ago.
and then
Now he's
Poliev
80.
talked crap about Trump when he was like, "I'll stand up to him," as
And
opposed to being like,
Yeah,
"We're gonna work
I mean,
together with him because all these Canadians love
Trump
Trump."
gave it to him. Like Trump gave it to Carney with this whole trade war thing because one, Poliev was doing like the stuff with the nicknames. Like he kept making nicknames for people, and then
Really?
like you're just like Trump. We don't want that. We hate this guy now.
Oh, wow. So Poliev was trying to do like a Trump kind of
Yeah, he was
personality.
calling Mark Carney carbon tax Carney.
Well, yeah. Trump would have
I
called
didn't
him...
say it was good.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
not
said he
very
was
good.
doing it.
Trump would have called him like Cuck Carney or
Yeah,
something.
little Mark.
Yeah.
Circus Carney.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Circus Carney. That's a good one.
The clown, Circus Cloud Cardi.
Speaking of being desensitized, my mind goes to the most extreme, example just for reference, but like the the Germans in the 30s were just they did not know a lot of what was going on. They were just along for the ride. Maybe they were making a little more money because Hitler had improved the economy because of the incredible.
Were the
amount
Jews
of
in
military.
this situation the Canadians?
The Jews are the Canadians
Yeah,
in this
yeah, okay.
situation. Yeah. No, there are no Jews in this situation. In this situation, well, I guess in this situation, maybe this El Salvadorian guy could be an example of someone that got just roped up. He got whisked away in the night, and he wasn't supposed to.
But also, if you were a Jew during the World War II, and they go, "We're deporting you," you're probably like, sick.
Right. The argument you're making is that during Germany, the Jews were trying to break into Germany.
Yeah, the Jews were trying to leave.
They were doing.
The problem is they couldn't leave.
They I don't know if they were kicking him out before in the 20s, if the 30s.
Well, I think the thing is they wanted to kick him out, they couldn't, and then they were like, "All right, well then we."
Yeah, repopulate.
That was the meme with AOC when she was like, Trump's building concentration camps, and then someone made a comic where it's Auschwitz, and the guard is yelling, "And stay out!" and people are running away.
So like psycho, what do you call it? Potential reality that won't happen because we're going to nip it in the bud right now is that we try to deport all these illegal aliens, whatever, but we can't, and then domestic violence erupts with all these illegal immigrants protesting violence, and then
that'd be you're asking to get deported if you're going to public protest.
But then it's like, look, we can't even get these guys out of the country. What are we going to do with them? Same with what the Nazis did with the Jews. Like, you cannot. That's some reality I don't want to go to.
Yeah,
I don't.
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
They're not going to start gassing the illegals. They're going to send them to a different
sending
country.
them to camps.
But Trump did.
I mean, they're
say,
sending them to El Salvador in prison if they're even not. I mean, that is crazy that they're like, yeah,
Trump
we're
said
sending them to a different country's prison.
Trump said he would like to send the worst Americans to the El Salvadoran prison as well.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Crossing the line.
Yeah,
No dice.
That would be crazy.
But there's not going to be like there's no desire.
Trump also said he wants to turn the Gaza Strip into a resort.
Maragaza.
Yeah, I think he says a lot of things. He really shoots from the hip. This guy.
He really does.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
They're not gonna like make camps for the illegal aliens.
No,
because the goal right now
you might get like Japanese internment camps.
But the government right now is trying to institute, because of how many people there are here that are illegal. Right, we talked about it the other night. You're not going to be able to actually deport all of them. So the goal is to make it uncomfortable for them to live in the United States, and that's why you hear the phrase self-deportation. That application that the Biden administration,
Now they're fining them $1,000 a day. Like,
yeah, something
good
like
luck
that.
collecting that.
Well, the point is, they don't want to risk actually getting picked up, right? So if you're an illegal and they're like, oh man, they're going to fine us $1,000 a day. If I get pulled over and they pop me, they're going to take my property, because that's one of the things that they said is, we'll take your property just like the IRS would. So like they'll just empty your bank account or take whatever you have if you got money under your blanket, under your mattress.
There's illegals who own property.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of stuff will get taken away. And the point of that isn't that they're trying to collect a bunch of money. The point is to get people to self-deport.
Yeah.
I thought that, I used to think that term was silly when I first heard of it. But then after you see what they're talking about, it's like, oh, okay, make it uncomfortable for them to be here. And
I mean, there's
1.4.
1.4. I did the math. There's 1.4. Like when Trump came into office, 1.4 million people in the United States with active deportation orders. Like those are people who have gone through the whole system and have been ordered to leave. That's 1,000 people a day for the entire term just to get those ones. Right? Like to get rid of all the illegals here, like the only way you can really do it is like this.
Yeah, that kind of
is
stuff.
to essentially instill this fear in them where they kind of take care of it on their own.
And the federal government should start punishing business owners that hire people that are illegal. If you're here illegally, or if you hire people that are here illegally and you know it, you should lose your business. Like the punishment should be extremely steep, so that way they get rid of them. So it's not worth it, because right now they're looking at, if you can save, $20,000-$30,000 a year on each person, or even on say you got a car wash and there's 10 dudes that work there, right? And you can save $50,000 a year by hiring illegals to do the wipe down afterwards. Make it so it's not worth the risk. Make it, take their business. And it wouldn't take.
I mean, their business, in a lot of instances, their business is set up so that it would just take it anyways, but that's their problem.
Fair enough. But again, it should.
I mean, everybody in New York is like, well, if we get rid of all these illegals, who's going to wash the dishes? And you're like, okay, well, I don't know. Charge more money for food. I don't know. Be more competitive.
I mean, the point,
tariffs.
hey, look, man, if we you can't say we're not going to make something illegal or punish crime because there'll be problems punishing the crime. You still punish the crime.
In a way, the illegal immigration, the people that are here illegally, not all of them by any stretch, but there's a segment of like low income, kind of lower class, I want to say employees, like what you're talking about, guys that wipe down the car, you don't have a lot of skill. It's kind of like the Roman Empire when they had all this slave class. And if the slaves had just been deported from Rome, the entire civilization would have fallen apart.
I mean, that is an argument
America,
that's made is for sure. Like, again, in New York City, everybody's like, every restaurant, like there must be 100,000 workers. But the thing is a lot of people who do this, like they're only here temporarily anyways, because their whole plan, I've like spoken to people about this who have family members who do stuff like that. Essentially, their thing is they come here to the United States, they sleep like, 8 to a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment. They save up all this money for like 7 years, and then they go back to wherever they're from, and they never have to work.
And they'll actually send money back in real time.
They send back money, which is not good for the American economy to have the money just like leave. But then they take all the money they made with them, they go back to wherever they're from, and they just don't have to work. And they just work like, construction or dishwashing, which is crazy to think that you could be a dishwasher in New York City for 7 years, and wherever you're from, you could retire on that. Whereas, like, if you're actually an American, you're like, you can't even live.
Millennials can't retire.
No.
They have an average of 15 to 20,000 in their savings. But I guess when you compare that to the rest of the world, the strategy of the elite global cabal, or whatever you want to call it, played out pretty well.
Yeah. I think
you normalize the economy of every country, and that's how you create globalism. And so the idea that you would make every country as wealthy as the U.S. is absurd. But it is easy to make America as poor as the rest of the countries.
Yep.
So after the boomers are gone, millennials, their retirement account has $15,000, $20,000 in it. That's not a retirement account. No. That's a rainy day fund for when your car breaks down.
Sure.
Especially with inflation.
One of the main quest line for me is to make sure millennials can retire. I think in this reality, build a space elevator and make sure millennials can retire. Because if
what can be done right now for
make
someone
fuel
else?
a tenth of the cost.
Well, I mean, again, all these like what Trump's doing with tariffs, everybody's. It's weird to see people on the left complain about the stock market go down because he's literally transferring money. Like 8% of Americans own, 90% of all the stocks, and he's transferring the money from them to the middle class.
All right,
what are you complaining about?
Let's try this. How much should fuel cost?
I mean, it's a commodity.
Right now, I'd love to see
the price of it.
30 cents a gallon.
What do you?
What do you want to be of Venezuela?
Okay.
No, I'm talking about
so 30
relative of hydrogen
30 cents a gallon
to petroleum. Yeah.
So how much does the gas company make?
Well, it doesn't have to be profitable.
What?
We don't.
How do they pay their staff to refine the gasoline? To refine.
No, I'm talking about hydrogen. You actually make money to produce.
We're not doing hydrogen. We have electric cars.
You said 30 cents a gallon.
Ship has
I'm saying the comparate.
Millennials
of hydrogen to petroleum.
We are not going to change a 120-year oil infrastructure in a matter of years for millennials to retire.
No. That's why.
Let's try this again. How do millennials retire?
I'm not talking about petroleum. I'm talking about 30 cents a gallon of relative cost to hydrogen fuel. It just doesn't. I just said make fuel cheaper. I didn't say make.
Well,
gas.
There's electric cars which are.
How do millennials retire? You said make fuel cheaper.
Yes.
Okay, but hydrogen fuel, which is not a principal commodity.
That's my goal in life right now.
I mean, I'll tell you how to make. I'll tell you how to do it. Is these tariffs work, and then they eliminate the income tax, and then a lot of people have a lot more money, and it drives the wages up.
Right, but then imported, and so as long as fundamentally, you'd end up with food being a lot cheaper. American property and rent should be theoretically cheaper, or at least less buying power, but imported goods would be more expensive. So the question for all yous that are listening is, would you mind spending $30,000 for a cell phone if your bread costs 50 cents?
I mean, no. I mean, yes. Sorry. Yeah. Obviously, most people would not want to spend $30,000 on a cell phone, but there'll be ways around that. I feel like, a lot of the tariffs will be short term, and then a lot of this is punitive to China. So Apple will move just like they move their facilities to India and Vietnam, they'll go to some low tariff country because a lot of the point of the tariffs is just to kind of ding China.
So this is a report from CNN. It says that iPhone could triple in price to $3,500 if they're made in the USA. Now, theoretically, if Trump does get costs down, it would not be $3,500 if the tariffs work and the income tax works. There's competition and there's people who actually have jobs. It shouldn't be that high. But theoretically, right now, in terms of buying power, the idea is in this new system that Trump is building, rent will be way cheaper. Buying a house will be way cheaper.
Yeah.
But high-end electronics will be way more expensive.
Here's the thing: it's like what's the new iPhone? The 18 or something? What are we on? 16?
I have no idea.
I have a 13. It's the same thing. There's barely any difference in it.
new
People
ones
are
are
on
AI.
this cycle where they're like, "Yeah, I need a new iPhone." You don't need a new iPhone every year. So if people have to not get a new iPhone every year,
I don't know, dude, because you were saying earlier how in 6 months, how AI is advanced in 6 months.
Well,
this thing's wicked. This is the 24, the Android 24, the new
Yeah.
one.
What does it do?
It's got crazy AI I haven't even investigated. You can
So you don't do anything with it?
It'll find it on the internet for you.
The AI on the Galaxy S Ultra, I can take a picture. I hold the stylus down. It will take the person and I can move them and then AI generate images behind them.
It's so powerful.
that's pretty.
Like I can take a picture of you right now and I can remove you from that chair.
Why would you take a picture of me then?
To remove you from the chair. I want to see the chair.
I want to get a picture of the goddamn chair.
I could throw you out of here right now.
Blocking me.
But you can, if you like take a picture and there's a sign in the background,
Yeah.
you can hold it down and grab the sign and remove it, and it will
Sure.
put like bricks over it.
But I know like the whole thing with Trump is he goes, look, there's gonna be some short-term pain for long-term gain. So some of the short-term pain is you're not gonna get the phone that removes the person from the photo for a little bit. You're gonna have to use the phone that doesn't remove the person.
It could have dramatic consequences on the domestic populations falling behind technologically in the just the psychic race or the psychological race against the Chinese citizens that have the advanced tech AI phones.
I mean, China's in a lot of trouble. They're like their debt to GDP is like 330%. Like Trump is trying to cripple them. They have an aging population.
Dude, Serge just said before the show, there's possible chance that they've been inflating their population numbers. Nowhere
lying
near
about everything
1.4
else.
billion. Yeah, they've been lying about so much.
I mean, they said COVID came from a goddamn wet market.
They manipulated their economy so the housing is worth more money, so they can claim a higher net worth of citizens and leverage that for credit and a bunch of other.
I mean, they literally manipulate their currency,
right?
Everything.
Well, so let's go back to that question. The reason why I brought up the iPhone tripling in price is because the general idea of the shift in the economy is fine, import things, but they'll be expensive.
Yeah.
Unless they can be made here. So a lot of things may become more expensive. The government, what Trump is doing, he's gutting the government. He's dramatically reducing the budgetary requirements. At the same time, he's launching these tariffs. It looks like his strategy is eliminate the income tax, make the government very small so it can operate just off tariffs. The question I have now is, if that is the play, or if not, or whatever, what can be done either in, I suppose my question is that what is going to make it so millennials can retire? Or is there something else that we can do so that we can change this? We're talking about 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, there is an element too with the iPhone stuff where robotics will come in and just, there's not going to be people assembling iPhones, period. Like it'll just be robots in 5 years or something.
Dude, especially
5 years,
with Optimus.
Right?
Atlas.
So it like the
Robo people.
This might be kind of a moot point regardless because we won't need Chinese or American people to assemble.
Has anyone stopped to consider what Elon Musk is doing?
He's sending robots to Mars.
Yeah,
No, he's
I saw
not.
that.
Next year, I think.
that's incorrect.
He's sending Optimus.
I'm going to clarify this
Oh,
for you.
good. Thanks.
Elon Musk is inventing Neuralink so that you can upload your brain to the robot and you can go to Mars.
Oh, shit, dude. You're speaking my language now.
Elon buys X for access to the data stream. We call it the fire hose. He has the best stream of human consciousness for programming.
and the worst.
And
And the absolute worst.
well, it's every.
But it's all of it. I know.
It's all of us.
I'm joking.
Everybody
And
needs a sewage system.
This is the best training data for a large language model to create these AI programs. He's working on Optimus, space travel, and Neuralink. All of this aligns with uploading your brain to the machine and you going to other planets.
Or it'll be like a surrogate machine
the
that people
Matrix?
can like timeshare, and we'll all be able to. I'll get it from 6 to 7 tomorrow. You'll get it from 7 to 8, and then I'll port my consciousness into it, and I'll be on Mars, and then I'll be back, and you can go in and use the same robot.
It's going to be like
You'll be able to use the same robot at the same time.
what's that? Altered Carbon? Was that the name of the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you can download your brain into like a chip in your neck and then take it out and upload it to a different body.
Because at first,
That's where they're going with Neuralink,
at
bro.
first it's just going to be. You'll be in the robots. You'll just be like in a movie where you turn and the robot will turn, maybe. But then eventually, yes, of course, you'll be. I don't know. Will it have sensors on it where you can actually feel, touch?
Yes.
and things like
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're going to look like people. They're not going to be these weird robot drone things. They're going to put skins and stuff on them.
They'll be able to walk on the surface.
Dude, it's yep. And the argument is Mars is minus 44. How do humans operate there? I do think there's a lot of things they're going to do with AI. They can literally drop a bunch of robots on Mars and say, figure it out.
Yeah, that's the goal.
And then the robots are going to be like, you got a boss.
Plant a bunch
and
of
then we just
daikon.
Yeah,
do nothing.
Start building.
Yeah, if they're gonna start. You got to plant a bunch of radishes first. I keep thinking daikon. They're like, what do we call the first city on Mars?
is
It's called
your-
daikon.
You got to build giant biospheres.
Yeah,
I think we can if we plant.
we don't want to all eat
daikon
radishes.
Only at first because it breaks up the soil and it'll aerate the soil, and then we can
Talking about
start.
some
but the
Soviet dystopia where all we eat is radishes.
But the soil is not organic matter. So there's going to be things missing from it.
Yeah, we're
So
going
it's
to
not-
introduce stuff slowly.
Right. You need organic compounds so that you can grow the plants.
You need a landfill. Just to really-
you're gonna need
when it
bacteria.
rots, it eats itself and can grow new daikon.
We're going to
Well,
need
on Earth.
we're going to need a bacteria that consumes iron and can survive at cold temperatures to spam blast that planet with bacteria, because you're going to need to create an organic layer for higher life forms like plants to grow out of. They're going to have to build biospheres so that life can exist as it grows and expands. But I don't know how this helps millennials retire. Other than, I'm going to tell you this.
They have more space to move.
Millennials are going to retire by
Property's cheap on Mars.
You're going to live in the pod, plug your brain into the VR, and you're going to live in a fake world where you're Spider-Man.
There's
that
a
sucks.
maybe. I'd rather, hey, there's a board game called Terraforming Mars that we have it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a bunch of corporations that are in a race to terraform the planet first, and you're one of those corporations.
Elon's going to climb it. He's going to land there. He's going to put a flag on the
Tesla flag. That'll.
How does that
really
work?
Trigger
Like-
some
like
people. Trigger some protesters.
I own Mars now, and it's mine.
Like it's a corporation. It's his corporation. So does a corporation now? Is it become a country? Is he going to build his own country on the planet?
It's like the East India Trading Company. It's an organization with a hierarchical government.
yeah.
It really was. It was like a government. It was a corporation that was like the most powerful government on earth.
Yeah.
Relative, one of them.
They killed 50,000 people for black pepper.
Dude, they colonized India.
Ever try
They
eating
just-
eggs without black pepper?
You can't do it.
Inedible.
So I totally understand why the East India Trading Company had to kill all those people to get it.
So we'll start with. I don't like the idea of starting with a corporation as our government, but maybe that's just the only.
I mean, maybe there'll be some
So,
U.S.
we-
government tie-in to
Can we
it.
just mention how good it is in this world that there was a period where men would board a massive warship and the captain would be like, "Men, today we set sail on a 16-month journey, and we will come back with pepper."
Yeah, having
They're
them get dysentery and
they're dying. And they're like encountering wild animals and there's storms and they barely make it back. And the king is like, "You have done great things for our nation." And today it's on every table at every diner and nobody touches it.
Yeah.
Dude, I just made a video about deconstruction versus destruction of government and how if you destroy a government, when chaos ensues, the thing that I think that people don't consider or that should be is how the supply chain just completely evaporates when chaos erupts. Like you think all that food, all that stuff, that is so delicate to maintain the ability to access black pepper.
Yeah.
So it's super important that we don't destroy our government, that we do deconstruct it and reconstruct it.
I agree. Let's not destroy our government.
You know what? You know where I think we're going? I think we're going the way of ancient Rome, as I'm not the first to speculate. But when Rome collapsed, we got the Dark Ages. People forgot how to take a dump in a toilet.
Yeah.
They just started throwing it out the window. They were like, well, how do you forget this stuff? How do you lose technology like that?
I guess it was written down on paper, and they got invaded, and the paper got destroyed. Maybe the historical records were
I
destroyed.
think you would pass that along just verbally.
You know what's even crazier is that the language morphed into a bunch of different languages.
Yeah, from Latin.
That's
Latin
right.
was the original.
When Rome collapsed,
French and Spanish.
everybody started speaking something else.
Yeah.
Maybe I think a lot about data storage. You can store data in glass in orbit. We could store our data in orbit. So if something were to happen on the surface, like a nuclear,
Yeah, but we're not going to know how
Have
to
you-
get it back.
Have you
could
seen the
have to hit
Have you
with
seen the
lasers,
movie
but they'd have to
Moonfall?
figure that
Oh,
out.
they'd be like, "Yo, it's up there." You go, "Yeah, good."
Have you
luck."
seen the movie Moonfall?
No.
The movie starts as being about the moon is falling. And then you're like, okay. And then they're like, the moon's going to crash into Earth and everyone's going to die. Then it turns out, way later in the movie, that the moon was a terraforming base that created the Earth as a colony for humans. And then I think it was something like the humans from the space station had come down to Earth and their ship got damaged and they couldn't get back. And so that was just the end of all of human civilization at that moment. Something like that.
Yeah.
So like apparently in the movie, they had this great civilization that built a bunch of these terraforming machines that would go out and build planets that humans could colonize. But the humans created an AI that thought humans were a threat and wiped them all out. One group of humans escaped on one of the terraforming machines and hid. The AI went and destroyed all of the other bases. And then this one created the Earth. and then somehow they got detached from the space station, landed on Earth, and they're looking up at it being like, there's all of the knowledge of everything our race has created, and we have no way to get to it. So they tell stories to their kids, but after 100 years, they're cavemen with fires and sticks.
It's like the mud flood.
It's possible all
right,
we
the mud
have.
flood.
Yeah, it's like the mud flood. They had all this technology, and then it only takes 100 years or something.
Oh, man, I think that's what happened with Atlantis. When that flood covered, they were storing it in the Capitol, and they were hoarding it in the Capitol. And when it got flooded, it was all.
What if
most
the
of it was
story of
I mean, if you had a hard drive with all the information in the world, in 100 years, that thing would literally disintegrate.
Yeah, well, I mean, buried underground.
Or, but even if it wasn't buried, it's just like the elements would
Right.
just destroy it.
What if Noah's Ark is real? And the actual story was there was a great civilization, there was Atlantis, and a flood wiped it out and destroyed all of civilization, a massive flood. And the reason why I think it's mud is because after floods, the sediment sets and it leaves behind thick mud. And then, and that was like 12,000 years ago or something,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I think that is what that's the evidence from the younger.
And there was a
the younger
podcast
Dryas.
12,000 years ago, and they were talking about this same stuff.
And there was this dude named
record of
Noah, and he was like, guys, the flood is going to happen. I'm building a boat. And they're like, you're crazy.
I believe it was 2 floods too, which is interesting. There was 800 years apart because we're in this torrid meteor stream, and if something happened to the Earth's magnetic field, these meteors, I don't know if it did or not, but some meteors fell. So we're in the meteor stream right now, and people are concerned, like, you know, of the potential of another cataclysm like that.
I mean, it's only a matter of time before something happens.
My question is, how long do you think it would take to terraform Mars? Do you guys think about it much? I think about it a lot.
It would take, well, I mean, you'd have
1,000 years?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have the same kind of mass as the Earth does, right? Like, you have significantly less gravity, and that's part of why Mars doesn't have a thick.
I mean, what's the capacity of the largest rocket that could get to Mars? And doesn't it take 9 years?
Starship,
Which
no,
is
no,
like-
no, like 2 or something like that.
2 years.
or something.
Okay, so it takes 2 years to get to Mars. Like, you know, assuming you need cement to build stuff, how much cement can you get in one go?
If I understand correctly, like Musk is planning on sending at the end of next year, he's planning on sending Starship. Hopefully, he's hoping for Starship and a bunch of Optimus robots that have AI. So that way they're not reliant on commands from Earth, because it's like a 4-minute delay between the Earth and Mars. So he's gonna, and one of the other things that he said is there's got to be processes that can be utilized on Mars, because moving things like moving machinery and stuff to make machinery is one thing, but like moving materials, how do you
get the materials then?
Well, moving it from Earth to there is a real pain in the butt.
That's what I'm saying.
He was talking about
forever.
I think he was talking about actually, I'm not. I don't know.
Like mining, setting up a mining facility or something.
I don't know exactly.
I mean,
what it was,
are
but he was
there
saying
trees?
that he was saying the processes have to be on Mars.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was talking about using nuclear or what the deal was.
I mean, that's the thing. We use all the resources that are on Earth. So if they have limited resources there, that means we need to get them from here, or you have to, assuming it's even possible to plant trees on Mars. You're like, how long is that?
Well, no, I mean, they're gonna when it comes to like food and stuff like that, we'll obviously bring it, and you'll be doing stuff first in like biodomes. So like the biodome they did here on Earth, that's the first thing. It'd be biodomes and underground,
and then seed bombing, which is where they'll retrofit planes or drones or something to drop like literally billions of seeds per day.
Thousands of years. It'll be 1,000 years before you could do that on the surface.
The thing about time is it's motion. So if you do things faster, it takes less time.
If you look at like
yes, Ian.
the
If you do
boring,
things faster,
like
it takes
if
less
it might
time.
take you, if you have an hour of work to do, if you read it twice as fast, it only takes you a half hour.
But it takes 2 years to get.
Same with
It takes 2 years to get there.
It's the same with erosion.
That's right. And this is the advice I usually give people when they say, "Hey, I'm coming over. I'm an hour away." I say, if you go 120 miles an hour, you'll be here in a half an hour.
And if you have 2 drones instead of 1, it's going to take 50% of the time.
You're not going to be doing any kind of planting on Mars for a long time. But the reason that he bought the
Assuming
boring,
that it's even possible.
yeah, exactly. But right now it's not at all. Nothing nothing's going to grow on the Martian soil.
Yeah,
There's
currently
there's
nothing grows there. So.
But the reason that he bought the boring company and started the boring company is because he wants to be able to build things underground. Right. The point is because there is radiation that you have to worry about on Mars. It doesn't have the same magnetosphere, so it gets way more cosmic radiation.
I
So
do not, after this conversation, I do not want to live on Mars.
I don't want to live on Mars.
Maybe we'll be planting fungus then underground.
I really do not want to live on Mars.
Because they always say mushrooms will save the world. A lot of people think that. And
Do they say that?
You can like feed bees.
Who's they?
Mushroom
who's
tea.
saying that?
Paul
Who is they,
Stamets.
though?
Paul Stamets, the leading mycologist on the planet. You can feed bees mushroom tea and help them heal from like neonicotinoid pesticide poisoning and stuff. So like maybe that will be our first crop is fungus underground in the tunnels.
But I know.
Maybe. But let's jump to this next story from the Daily Mail, which is worse. AI-powered shoplifting crackdown. Minority Report is real. Do you guys remember in Minority Report when he steals the eyeball and then he goes into the mall and it's like, hello, Mr. Chen. And it shows a picture of like an Asian guy.
Yeah.
It scanned his eye.
Remember in Demolition Man where he takes out the guy's eyeball?
Yep.
Wesley Snipes pulls it out so he can get in that room.
Yeah, right. So
Got new eyes in
already in Britain,
Minority
they are
Report.
using AI technologies to scan your face, to determine your age, and to stop you from shoplifting and doing all these other things. Now, I know for a lot of people, they're going to be like, good, don't shoplift. But I don't know if people are going to be too happy to live in a world. You know, actually, I take this back. Everyone will be very, very happy to live in this world. They will accept it in 2 seconds. Right now, we can sit here and be like, dude, I don't know, man. Cameras scanning your face everywhere you go sounds like a nightmare.
Whole Foods
Sounds
is
like your
literally you
phone.
can pay with your palm.
Except right now, I don't know about what you guys do up in Canada, but here
You live in Canada.
here, yes, but you're a Canadian.
True.
Right now in the United States, every single person listening was, well, maybe not every single person listening. The overwhelming amount of people listening were born and given a government serial number. And if you went back 100 years and said, they are going to require everyone to register with a number with the government, they'd say, you're nuts. We would never do that. That's insane. And then now it's normal. You have to do it. So when they start rolling out these
Put
things,
all our numbers in a book.
remember when Amazon rolled out that store where you didn't have to do anything, you just grab whatever you want and leave?
Yeah.
That's the trial balloon. We're going to live in a society where you will never escape. There will be no cash. It will be credits. And if you want things, you have to get approval. And people talk about how when we go digital with the central bank digital currency, you're going to go into the store and you're going to try and boop your phone and it's going to say denied, you're banned for hate speech. It's going to be worse than that. You're not going to be able to walk into the store. You're going to walk up to the store and it's going to be like, I'm sorry, Mr. Polishchuk. Your comedy was deemed offensive. You have a 24-hour suspension from the grocery store.
From the grocery store. Yeah, you shouldn't talk smack about us.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy. That
technology exists now.
I mean, that's the
already
thing, though. When they went to self-checkout, and then the first thing they did was everybody did with self-checkout is like, everybody's like, oh, so just everybody just steals? So then they're like, okay, they're like,
And
well,
there
that's
was-
not good.
Yeah, and they were like the money they saved on employees, they just covered the cost of the thing.
And now here's where it gets dystopian. There was a story where a lady was leaving with her groceries and she had like $100 and something dollars worth of groceries. And someone stopped her and found that there was one small item that she didn't pay for.
She was Canadian. She got deported, I believe.
Is that what happened?
I think she was like this wrestling coach or something.
Is it? But this is where she was like, oh, I was an accident, I guess.
Yeah, she goes, it was an accident. I don't know if it was or was not an accident. I can't
Probably.
speak to that. But she literally, like, they were saying she was going to get her visa revoked.
Yeah.
And have to go back to Canada because she got, like, she had took something from Walmart.
So that's insane to me. So they've charged people with shoplifting because they'll go to the self-checkout and intentionally not scan something. But people are so dumb. They'll take like a $10 item and a $3 item and they'll put them together and scan the cheap one and put them both in. It's like, bro, we can watch you do that.
Sure.
Apparently, like,
But I mean, like when you go to somewhere that actually like they do it the old way and they do your groceries, like there's sometimes when they miss a thing or they charge you
Right.
twice for a thing.
What I'm
We're not
saying is-
jailing them.
if you take an item, if you take an item and you run it over the scanner and it doesn't beep and you don't notice, how can you charge them with shoplifting for that? But they are.
Yeah.
And my attitude is like, dude, I wasn't trained or paid to work here. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, bring back the.
But they will arrest you. And they're going to say, we don't care. That's where it gets dystopian.
And they'll send you to El Salvador.
Well, I don't know about El Salvador.
I mean,
Well, that's up next.
Oh, yeah.
Wait till someone's like, "What are you in for?" It's like I'm an MS-13. I took a banana.
I'm a gay hairdresser with 2 pounds on my wrists,
Yeah, that happens.
But people are getting arrested. And many of them are saying, like, I don't know why I didn't scan.
Yeah,
I didn't realize. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not trained on this.
Man,
Right.
in regards to this crap, I am vehemently against scanning your eyeballs to get access to things and giving your DNA to corporations and things.
I mean, if you walk through
choice?
an airport in America right now, like
I know.
a lot of this stuff right now going through an airport is a lot of it is show with like them scanning your passport because they've already scanned your face. Like if you think you're getting through,
Scan my face for the first time at the airport. Well, I've scanned it recently, more times than I'd like.
I mean,
and if it got the real ID. I'm like, what is
but
this
I'm
tracking
like
mechanism?
when they take your photo at TSA, like they go, "Oh, we delete your photo and you don't have to do this," but like they're scanning your face,
And so-
regardless when you're in the airport.
I've got a repulsion to this integrating
check
this
out of
Borg.
society. That's the option.
It makes me think of people turning into the Borg. Again, it makes me, but I won't check out. I'm going to stick with it. But the thing is, like you were saying, kids, little people, young people that whatever is the real technology of the day, they're used to it. That's what is real. And that's what is accepted. Like my social security number.
Yep.
I never questioned it.
These kids are going to grow up. So you said you shouldn't scan your eyeballs.
is your social security
Bro,
number.
You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice to scan your eyeballs. When you walk in, it scans your eyeballs.
Yeah.
When you walk up to the cash register, it scans your face. When you go to the airport, they will take a picture of your face. You don't use plane tickets anymore.
Yeah.
You walk up and they say stand right there and they take a picture of you.
Yeah, and
And you like stick your ID in a machine, and then it scans your face.
yeah, and their ID's probably a formality now. They're not going to need that.
They're going to say, wouldn't you rather have no security? You can just walk into the airport, walk up to the plane, board your plane, and go.
You'll always
With
be
the-
safe.
With these cameras scanning your face everywhere you go, we can keep the bad guys out.
Man, someone made that thing. This is my point.
smoke on planes again.
And I'm like, I'm just, law and chaos is not the same thing as good and evil. If you have evil law, you need corruption to stop that evil system.
That's not corruption.
Neo was corruption in the Matrix, and that was a good thing because that Matrix was a lawful evil system.
I gotta stop you there. Neo was not the corruption in the Matrix. He was the purpose of the Matrix.
Well, he became it.
No, he didn't
and
become
the good
it.
people agreed with you, but the Matrix itself saw him as a virus.
That's not true.
Yeah, he was.
Have you seen the movies?
I've saw
They
the first
explain that there's been multiple iterations of Neo. He's a needed machine to help cleanse the system every few generations.
I saw the first one, and in the first one, he was corrupting that system. So corruption is not bad always.
well,
Sometimes, usually it is.
But he wasn't. As they explain in the later movies, there's a cycle of generations of humans that reject the Matrix, and they have to routinely purge them. And so the one is born every 7 generations to lead the humans to their demise in the war so that it resets. And then people are put back in the Matrix, and then people start getting purged from the Matrix.
Yeah.
That sounds like retconning the thing.
Well, they're all.
Sorry to interrupt you.
It's an allegory for trans people, apparently.
It was actual.
What they said after the fact.
Remember,
at the end,
they
it's-
did the first one. They made a boatload of money. Then they did all the ketamine they could for a long time, and then they did the second and third.
And they did a fourth one, which was actually very patriarchal and weird. So the first movie they said was about being trans, and that's why at the end it says system failure, and it comes past the camera, and it said, see the M and the F, and you go between it. And I'm like, whatever, dude.
I don't believe it.
So, but the first,
Whatever, dude.
the movie doesn't end. There's no end of the first movie. Nobody breaks out of the Matrix. The Matrix isn't solved. He just flies away.
He just becomes like superhero.
So the point of the story was that Neo was every seven generations. The one was an intentional creation genetically to basically lead humans to war, which they would get destroyed in and wipe them out. However, the fourth movie they made 20 years later with Keanu Reeves was actually much more based. What's the name of the female actress? Carrie-Anne Moss.
Oh.
Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu are in these pods in the Matrix because the Matrix needs a matriarch and a patriarch to function properly. And if at any point there is no matrix, they said the Matrix was failing after a certain number of tries because they realized you need a mother and a father. And I'm like, that was
Kind of based.
Yeah, that was the opposite of their original message. I guess.
You know more than I never saw the franchise. I only saw the first movie, so you obviously know more about it. So I'll make a bit different metaphor. It's just certain systems. So if you have a system that's on total lockdown, it's completely impregnable and it's very evil system. You need to corrupt that system to break that evil cycle. And so it's the same thing with totalitarian security.
That's why people steal from these self-checkouts. It's like a form of protest.
Subconscious protest.
Well, I kind of think they made.
I don't think it's subconscious. There's a lot of people who are not doing it subconsciously.
I think they just
Screw
want
you for making me do this.
I think they want free stuff.
That too. I mean, that's probably what they tell themselves.
When the Amazon store first opened in Seattle, I knew right away. I was like, I can easily take whatever I want from the store.
Yeah.
So I flew there, and I did. And and I called them up and explained. I made a video breaking it down. They reached out to me and they were like, "How did you do this?" And I talked to them and I explained how I did it. And they went, "Oh, that's all you did?" And I don't know if I ever explained exactly what I did. I may have, but I was like, I probably shouldn't explain because these things are popping up in airports now, where you walk in, grab stuff, and walk out.
Yeah, they have them at Madison Square Garden. I was just there. And
It's it's actually insanely easy to steal from and get away with it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to explain how, but
You'll do it on the after show. Sign up, everybody.
yeah, I'll do it on the after show. I don't know. I guess I'll do it on the after show. And we'll explain. It's not complicated at all. And it's like magic. When you do a magic trick, people are all impressed. But the moment you tell them how it's done, they go, oh.
Right.
It's like, that was actually pretty dumb. It's like, yeah, it's never as fun as you think. So taking whatever you want out of these places is insanely easy, and you'll get away with it.
I mean, stealing from, like, I live in New York City where every Walgreens, like, you know, every shampoo is locked up because you can just walk. Again, if you are so inclined, you can just walk into a CVS and just grab whatever you want and walk out.
They told me the amount of money they save by not having staff.
Yeah.
They don't care about
Exactly.
theft.
They balance it out and they go, yeah, we'd rather.
But the crime we're seeing now in all these cities, they're going out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the CVS and stuff. But
I think the plan of the Democrats. So here's a hypothesis that I have. I don't know that it's true or whatever. Trump was not supposed to win in 2016. There was supposed to be an economic downturn that was going to lead to angry people with low incomes, but it was normalizing U.S. standard of living with other parts of the world because they want you. In order to globalize, you need everybody to be sort of on a level playing field. Not necessarily completely, but to a certain degree. Trump wins, and he holds back that effort. So then we got COVID, where they said, shut the whole thing down.
Yeah.
And they forced a collapse. Like, it was 4 years that was supposed to be slowly going downward, was stopped by Trump. And then right when 2020 hit, they went boom. Sure. Yeah, they just dropped.
Well, you know, the last time, well, not the last time because there's only been one COVID, but it followed a crazy trade tariff dispute with China.
Interesting.
Not saying anything's going to come up.
And then, what happens now is Trump again is not supposed to win this time around. I think that the plan of those in power has long been to drop the U.S. economy way down for a couple of reasons. One, there's the Thucydides trap argument that whenever there's a rising economic power about to supplant the dominant power, war tends to break out. So to avoid this, they say kneecap the United States so that it can't wage war against China when China takes over, because it's going to in like 10 years or whatever. The other idea is that drop the standard of living down in America so that it normalizes with other nations and we can have one world governance, separating off basically the U.S. military apparatus as an independent international arm, which can globally police or whatever. Whatever's happening now, Trump is reversing course at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think it started in roughly, well, maybe 9/11, but
way before
the
that.
Trans-Pacific
The liberal
Partnership,
economic order.
It has been around for a long time.
The liberal economic order's plan was normalizing global economics, controlling the finances of other nations to prevent war, as they described it, just world domination.
And then this whatever thing happened, it was like they were on like a 20-year plan. This is what I was listening to earlier. It was like Chase Hughes again was doing this great interview, and they were saying he thinks that they were doing a 20-year plan to really get the global governance in place, and then Trump appears, this deep nationalist fervor in the United States to protect our way of life, and they just rushed the plan in 5 years through the COVID thing. And I didn't even want to call it a pandemic because it was just so gross the way that thing was handled. And people saw it in plain sight what they were trying to do. Make people say words like compelled speech. They were trying to make people take medicine like to keep their job, and they're like, what are we being forced into? This isn't right. It doesn't feel right. It's definitely not our American way of life. And then the people revolted, and that's where we're at right now.
I mean, you say the people revolted, but most people were pretty happy to go along with it.
Trump,
but not enough to make it.
Yeah.
Trump needs a media play. I don't know how he does it, and I don't know if they're paying attention to it. But the decentralization of media is very, very bad. So maybe Truth Social was that play. It didn't really work. Maybe Elon with X is that play, because X actually is a pretty dominant space. But even within X, everybody's following their own spheres of influence. This means that there's going to be people who think dinosaurs are alive and are super intelligent. There's going to be people who think that we should support Ukraine. We shouldn't support Ukraine. There's not going to be a unified, cohesive American message and culture. That was accomplished through mass media. Everybody got their news from one of 3 channels, and they trusted it. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it created
what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then people were largely unified. And so it's much easier to run a country when people largely agree politically with each other. Now you're going to have a flat earther show up and debate a donut earther who debates, a round
hollow earther,
a geocentrist.
Toroid earther too.
There are hollow earthers.
Yeah, hollow earthers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Earth is flat and hollow. It's a donut.
Donut Earth?
Oh, I bet
Earth.
there's so many caves.
Sounds delicious.
They're actually donut earthers.
Really?
Yeah, probably not really though. But there's an image that someone made about it.
They have to like separate themselves from the kooky flat earthers.
They're like, y'all are dumb.
Apparently,
Yep.
like according to like the laws of physics,
Here you go.
There could be a shaped planet.
Oh, there we go.
So awesome.
Apparently, some people believe the Earth is shaped like a donut. If that were true, when you stood in Africa, you'd look straight and you'd see, or you'd look up and you would see.
I think that's the shape of
China
the
would-
universe, and it's a torus wrapping around on itself. Like the Big Bang is when it goes through the middle, and then or a big crunch, and then it comes out the other side as a bang, and then wraps around and
Donut
crunches again. This is what Douglas Murray and Dave Smith were talking about, the decentralization of media, and how you'll get one guy will get a platform and say the Earth is a donut, and then he'll have 10 million views of people, and all of a sudden you want to talk about power, like the power to
let's,
change people's minds.
Let's talk about that. Did you guys see the Dave Smith Douglas Murray debate?
I saw the
on
first
Joe
half.
Rogan?
I watched the first half.
watched it,
or
yeah.
listened to the
I
first half.
think Dave Smith handily trounced Douglas Murray. What say you, gents?
Man, I only caught 15 or 20 minutes of it, the first 20 minutes of it. And it was basically Douglas Murray saying, look, what I don't like is people coming in saying the most ridiculous stuff. The Earth is a donut. He didn't say that. I'm saying that, but ridiculous stuff. And then when people call him on it, and I'm going to call out Bill Burr for this because he went on The View and was talking about like, yay, Luigi. And then when they ask him about it, he's like, I'm just a comedian. Don't look at me. Dude, you went on national. I don't care. You can hide behind your credentials, bro. You said it. Get behind it. Now, it's the same with this. You can't just say crap and then plead like, no, leave me alone.
You mean Dave-
Look at my badge. It says comedian on it.
Dave going, I'm just a comedian, man.
Yeah, and Dave does do that. Dave, you're one of my best friends. I fucking love you, man. But I don't like that tactic. You're a human first, and the things you say are you're responsible for that.
The reason I disagree with that is that Dave is not deflecting, oh, no, I'm wrong now. I better say I'm a comedian. Now I'm going to claim to be right. He's saying, like, the point is, I am a regular person who is concerned about the things that I have seen, and you're asking me to get into the intricacies of something that is not pertinent to what the principal argument is.
Douglas Murray is essentially like, you don't need to have an opinion about everything, kind of, if you're not an expert. And you're like, we're literally all in the opinion business. Like, that is the business we're in.
Like, with all due respect to Douglas Murray, because, I met him recently.
I like Douglas Murray.
Yeah.
I like both. I mean, I know both
Right.
of them. I like
He said, he's like, have you ever been to the checkpoints or whatever at Gaza? And he's like, no. And he's like, really? When was the last time you were in Israel? And Dave's like, I've never gone. He goes, really? You've never been? Never? And Dave's like, no. Am I not allowed to talk about it now? Like, have you ever been to Nazi Germany? And then Douglas Murray, I think, makes a very, very awful point when he says, well, I mean, I make it a point not to talk about a country unless I've been there. And I'm like, come on, dude, you're convincing nobody.
Well, because he's British. He doesn't understand the ethos of America.
I've never been to Afghanistan, and I'm going to complain about what the U.S. did in Afghanistan. I've never been to Iraq, and I'm going to complain. Like, it's silly that he's like, you should go. Dave is entirely allowed to talk about Israel, Palestine, what's happening to the Palestinians without having been there. That's silly.
Yeah.
So the issue I largely take with Douglas Murray's position in the debate was it was very much, it was very dry, overt talking point we hear of like appeal to authority. Like, if you've not been there, you can't talk, and you're not the experts. It's anybody saying whatever they want, and you don't know what you're talking about here. Whereas Dave is like, I'm a regular guy who lives in this country and is upset at what is happening in this country pertaining to our taxes, our involvement in the Middle East. We should not be involved in these things. I happen to agree with Dave in this regard, and I think this endless multi-decade, generational, constantly being in a state of warfare is insane, and I think it's unfair to say to me or to anybody, because you've not traveled to these places, you shouldn't speak of them, as if an average American plumber whose taxes are taken by force to fund war in the Middle East, be it or Ukraine, Israel or otherwise, has to travel there, ask the general or any of the experts what's going on before he's allowed to say, stop taking my money to fund your wars. So I'm with Dave on this one.
Yeah. And I mean, I do it like, yeah, I agree with that. And I agree with Douglas Murray. Essentially, he's like, you bring on these people and to Joe Rogan and you're like, they're not experts. And like, I agree. Maybe bring on the person with an expert. But again, like these people will go on and talk about 500 different things.
And this is
in one episode. Right. You're like, how can you bring in an expert? That person's like, I don't want to talk about that for the whole show. I want to talk about that for 5 minutes and then move on to something else.
It's an interesting conundrum for Joe Rogan as a podcast host, because what do? He just wants to have people on that he's interested in or thinks are cool. And then if they start talking about one side of a view, is he now beholden to have the other guy in that he has no interest in talking to just because he's got...
And again, like another thing with Douglas Murray is, talking about like like the Israel-Palestine stuff, or like he was talking about Ukraine a lot, and he goes, yeah, you bring people in and they're talking like favorably about Russia. You're like, the whole mainstream media gives you the other side of that argument about like the pro-Ukraine thing. Right?
I think this episode shows us why, in the long term, I think Israel. I don't know what happens to Israel, but I know that U.S. will not be supporting.
He didn't tell you?
Who? Bibi? Yeah. We sat down and he was like, I'm worried that America is not going to give us any money anymore. The Israelis did express great gratitude for the $3.8 billion the U.S. gives them. But one of the things I explicitly said was in 10 years, support for Israel's in question. In 20 years, the U.S. is not a part of the Middle Eastern equation. Dave Smith represents much more of the populist right. And Donald Trump is pro-Israel, but the populist right is it's not even about whether you like Israel or don't. It's that on the right, you have very anti-Israel and very I don't care about Israel. On the left, you have I hate Israel. So what does that mean in 10 years? As the older folks are the ones who defend Israel.
Yeah.
When they die and they're not voting anymore, and I don't mean to be crude, you're going to have a bunch of Trump, like libertarian-esque, right-leaning individuals, anti-woke saying, yeah, I don't want to give money to Israel. Sure. You're going to have these.
Israel doesn't even need the money. That's the crazy part. I don't even know why. I don't even know why they give it or take it because they don't need it. It
just goes into
a fraction of their GDP.
It buys U.S. weapons.
Yeah.
Basically, the U.S. is giving weapons.
But I mean, like Israel has the money to buy the weapons. Like $3.8 billion is not their.
There could be an argument that like it's an excuse for not saying that it's a good idea, but the U.S. giving the money to or giving weapons to Israel is an excuse for the United States to dump more money into weapons development.
Sure.
I've not heard a single good argument from the pro-Israel side, and I'm not saying this to rag on people who are pro-Israel because they're allowed to be. I have not heard a good argument as to why Americans should be using their weapons development, tax dollars, whatever you want to call it, for Israel's military.
Unless like America's worried that if we don't sell it to them, then Russia will.
I think that's our bulwark against the Suez, holding the Suez. And if Israel wasn't there, we'd have no.
But all the ships
carriers.
literally
that's actually a really great point.
Yeah, but all the ships right now are going around the Suez Canal anyways
because of the Houthis.
Yeah, because of the Houthis. They can do it. It's inconvenient,
but this explains a lot actually. So Trump wants to control the Northwest Passage with Greenland. He just struck a deal on Panama, and this is why he's pro-Israel. They want all of the trade canals to control global trade.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I would say that's the best reason I've heard, but I still don't know it's the best argument.
But like that's the Suez Canal is the reason why America has been backing Israel for
well, actually, I'll put it this way.
70 years.
Right. That's an argument. Indeed. I don't know if it's a good enough reason for us to be entangled in Middle Eastern conflict.
Yeah. What would happen if the power just like ebbed back and then that block? Because I heard that Iran is about one piece away from concluding their nuclear program. Like,
Trump, this Saturday, I believe, is going to be having the nuclear talks with Iran. And I don't think people understand just how close to war with Iran we actually are. I think one of the reasons they had this meeting so there was a press meeting, a press conference. So Trump meets with Netanyahu. They have your traditional press gaggle, and then they had the Chatham House with influencers. And the two principal topics were the tariffs. That was the number one issue. What's the trade deal with Israel and the U.S. going to look like? And war with Iran. And largely what was talked about was war with Iran. And I think the intention of the Israelis was to try and play this game, which I don't believe works, once they come for us, they come for you next. And this is really funny because I can't remember. I think I know who said this, but I'm not going to reveal it's their business. They just straight up said to Netanyahu, no, they're not.
Yeah.
Like I just thought that was really funny because that
was a whole ocean.
Exactly.
Like there's a geographical component.
So there was a bit of pushback where they were just like
your backyard.
We're 20,000 miles away. I probably shouldn't. Okay, look.
It was Dave Rubin.
No need.
No. It's because
I have no idea.
It's up to that person. I respect sources if I'm not going to reveal what they said, but I will say this: the Israelis conveyed that if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, the U.S. is in danger. And then there was a couple of people who just said, no, we're not. And they're like, that's ridiculous. We don't need to be involved in your war. And I think the general idea, it doesn't work. This game doesn't work. You can't be like, I'm warning you, Phil's going to get you. You're like, I'll deal with Phil if Phil tries to get me. But just because
I'll deal with you, Phil.
You're having problems, doesn't mean we're going to get involved.
Speaking of the Israeli war, that country has been at war since day one of inception. It is a war country. That country is war. It has been put there in the middle of a conflict, right after a conflict. It's just That's all. I told you guys before the show yesterday. I like Ben. He seems pretty cool, intelligent, charismatic, but he's born in a wartime culture, and he's a warrior. So
Ben?
Benny, and then so he knows how to fight and kill. That's his job. That's what he's done his whole life.
Well, what I can tell you is the annoying thing about the Israel derangement syndrome people who are, one, they're showing a fake clip of us on the show where I was saying that it doesn't matter who fired the shot in the false flag in the context of they won as soon as they engage in the false flag because their supporters are never going to believe it. Like you could say the Gulf of Tonkin for a long time was believed to be a false flag, but they said it was a conspiracy theory and people who were pro-America were like, get out of here with that nonsense. And then in like 2013 or whatever, they're like, oh, actually, yeah, we faked that whole thing.
Yeah.
So the people who perpetrate it are going to use it and they're going to get away with it. But the frustrating thing is the meeting that happens is largely about tariffs and war with Iran. I end up bringing up the gist of the story is this. Israel seems to be ignorant of the shifting landscape in the United States among young people towards sentiment to Israel, which is, as I mentioned, on the right, either we don't want to be involved in Israel or we don't like Israel. And on the left, we don't like Israel. So this idea that the Israelis wanted to communicate to prominent individuals, Iran's going to get a nuclear weapon and you're all in danger, was meaningless.
Sure.
Because in 10 years, we're not involved. And in 20 years, who cares about Iran? We're not going to be a part
Also,
of
America can deal with Iran if need be.
Well, certainly there are war hawks that want to go to war with Iran.
Yeah.
There were people in Trump's sphere that want this.
Oh, it's been since the '79 overthrow of the Shah. They
Right.
overthrew a democratically elected Iranian he was the Shah of Iran, and then they installed the Ayatollah, this religious zealot, and now they're like, hey, it's a bad guy. We have to attack them now. And you're like, we set it up.
The annoying thing is that in trying to understand what the intentions of the Israelis are and what's going to happen, you have people online who just like this is why I was saying it's funny because they're saying I claimed Nick Fuentes was an op by the Israelis when I said or the idea is it's more likely, and I'm being somewhat tongue in cheek, because when people like this go online and just say something like they tweet you're a Jew so you don't count or I won't listen to you, I'm like, okay, you're helping Israel. You're making regular Americans be like, I don't want to be a party to whatever that is.
Sure.
But Dave Smith, I praise all the time because he's funny, charismatic, calm, and collected, and explains from a rational American point of view why we don't want to be involved in funding these things.
I've mixed feelings about this now. I am very much into global peace, but at the same time, I understand that if you just sit defensively and wait, things can come at you that's what ballistics are. Okay, so...
Well, that's why we're going to have a beautiful Iron Dome.
That's true, and that's why we have our fingers away from our homeland so that we're not letting anyone near us. So we have this area protected, essentially. If we just let it go and Israel were to fall, and then the Suez is shut down and controlled by...
China.
Potentially Chinese, Russian, Iranian coalition or whatever.
Yeah.
That might not, I don't know.
But again, you just have to go around. You just have to go around Africa.
It's not easy to do.
But it's what they're doing right now.
Because of the Houthis.
Because of the Houthis.
So Trump bombs the Houthis. Yeah, give us back our canal.
But he's bombing, even with bombing the Houthis, like they're still going, like I saw a graph or whatever image today, and they all are currently just going around.
We got to go to chats over here, but Cam Higby was on the show the other day, and he's very pro-Israel. He says he's a raging Zionist, and he was arguing that we should fund Israel's military because they test our weapons or whatever, and I'm like, that's not a good argument, dude. We can test our weapons, and he's like, yeah, but they're not battle tested, and I'm like, okay, I just don't see that as a good argument.
Yeah, that's not a good argument.
The Suez Canal is interesting because losing control of that cedes control to the BRICS nations, and that's going to create a multipolar world. That being said, although that is an argument, I don't think it's a strong enough argument to justify the U.S. getting involved in more ground wars in the Middle East.
Oh God, the Russians, they want that the Bosphorus Strait. They want to go through Turkey and from the and now they want this. I'm sure for them to think of the Suez,
sure everybody wants it,
and it's not that like we can't share the Suez Canal with the Russia. Of course we can. I don't know this obsessive military control thing. It's
just a big game of risk.
God, yeah, Trump's not going to back down from this, and I think that's exactly why Trump is pro-Israel, because he wants.
I mean, every president's pro-Israel.
Exactly, but I think the Suez is principally why. I think that's why Greenland and Panama are so important to Trump.
And Canada.
I mean,
he wants the Arctic.
Sure.
Well, no, he wants the Arctic to defend against China and Russia.
So this is going to be interesting because Trump is not going to back down and let the BRICS nations take over. He is strangling China right now, which everybody likes, but should the U.S. back? This is the challenge we have. One, cutting off funding to Israel overnight creates Afghanistan times 100. So whatever we do when we're backing away from funding, it should be a tapering off of.
I mean, maybe I don't even know if I agree with, like, maybe if America backs off, people are like, oh, well, they don't have the Americans to defend them against our aggression, and but like, they don't need the money. Like, I believe their economy is like $600 billion. Like, what's $4 billion?
Look, Israel has the capability to take out Iran's nuclear program if they want.
Sure.
Like they did it. They did.
I mean, I guess the issue for Israel is there's all these hostile countries surrounding them, and in that sense,
well, I mean, not only that, but
know,
like, look, in the context of Iran, the conversation is almost always Israel, and people forget the fact that Iran is Shia and Saudi Arabia is Sunni, and Saudi Arabia doesn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon any more than Israel does. The whole of the Middle East doesn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons, but that's a different conversation.
Final thoughts on this is, I think people should listen to Dave. We are dangerously close to war with Iran, on the precipice as he described it. And the real takeaway, this is why these people are scumbags. Kim Iverson, you're a scumbag. She's lying.
Clip it.
Do it. Yeah, I mean, I made a 40-minute video breaking down how she just made a bunch of shit up to lie.
I saw that.
And the problem is, the Israelis called a meeting of a bunch of prominent influencers. Many of them were very pro-Israel. A lot of people were pushing back. And the intent was to be like, war with Iran is coming, and you have to be on our side. And it was. Some people were very diehard. They were like, yes, the bond between our nations. Some people were like, that's ludicrous. The American people do not want to be entangled in these wars. But the important takeaway from this is the Israelis are trying to push a narrative right now of America get prepared for war, which means our reaction needs to be start calling your members of Congress and being like, we will not be party to war with Iran. This is not a desert country like Afghanistan, and it is not it is not a desert country like Iraq either. It is a mountainous, highly developed nation with surface-to-air missiles that will make our air superiority very difficult. This will be a substantial modern war campaign, which we cannot and should not be involved in. It is not going to be like, oh, we're at war with Afghanistan. You never think twice about it.
Yeah.
It is going to be something you see on the news every day. It is going to be...
And it's probably unwinnable. It's probably one of those things where they can kind of outlast this over time.
And ignites a war with the rest of the BRICS nations.
Yeah.
So imagine the blowback for 30, 40, 50 years what the people from Iran would want to do back to the United States. That is not good. You don't do not.
Yeah, it's.
I thought you were gonna finish that.
The U.S. is.
I finished it.
The U.S. wins conflict through air superiority, and we don't have this in Iran. There was this period in Trump's first term where he called off an airstrike on Iran, and he said it was because he didn't think that it was worth the loss of life. I think the issue may actually be that the U.S. may have been incapable of carrying out these strikes because Iran is known for their anti-aircraft capabilities. Going to war with Iran, it's mountainous. It's not going to be this Gruder's Liberators nonsense and sending troops in. It's not going to be a 20-year quagmire. It's going to be insane bloodshed on the scale hitherto unthinkable. You think
that it's your sense that the war with Iran would be not just about nuclear weapons, but would be about actually regime change?
So the nuclear weapons is attached to the regime change. There's the general idea conveyed by the Israelis is that Iran is a fundamentalist state that will not stop. They're going to keep trying to expand their influence, and they want control. I felt like largely what I was being told about, like, oh, Iran is like, yeah, I get it, dude. I am not concerned about Iran. I don't care if Iran is taking Afghanistan, doing these things. I care about our weapons being handed off to Taliban and to terrorists and things like this. But if we are not involved in the Middle East, then we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I feel like Iran's been a bogeyman for like 30 years.
Literally since the coup in 79.
Yeah,
it defied the liberal economic order.
Yeah.
And so they want control of that region. They want to crush out Iran. Iran is capable of rejecting U.S. Liberal economic order supremacy.
Because they have oil.
It's not just about oil. The liberal economic order was established after World War II under this premise of stopping World War III. The general idea is through the International Monetary Fund, the Bank of International Settlements, the SWIFT payment system, you prevent war by controlling the finances of a nation. Iran told us to screw ourselves. It was 79 with the revolution, and since then, it's been a thorn in the side of the liberal economic order. That's why they wanted war the whole time. That's why they want war now. Trump, I don't think, wants war. I think Trump is going to engage in nuclear talks because the concern is if they get a nuclear weapon, then it's going to be impossible to deal with because now they've got extreme leverage.
Yeah.
And it makes it very hard to deal with militaristically, which is why the U.S. and Israel launched Stuxnet some, I think, 13 years ago to blow up Iranian nuclear centrifuges, which is an act of war, mind you. So when Dave is mentioning we're at the precipice of war, people need to understand that we've already engaged in a cyber attack which blew up a bunch of their facilities. Look, man, I will stress this. A war with Iran is not going to be like Afghanistan and Iraq, where you hear about it in the news and there's videos happening and it's like the average person goes on with their day.
No, and it wouldn't be one country. It wouldn't be Iran by itself.
It's going to be more like
China
World
and
War
Russia
II.
and Iran would be defending
Right.
against it. It would be fucking crazy. You do not do that.
And there's likely going to have
Language.
there's likely going to have to be conscription. And the buying power of the American person is going to drop dramatically as resources are shifted into a wartime economy.
Imagine the coastal cities getting bombarded. Are you kidding me? No.
Wait, you
Nuclear submarines all over the ocean from every country.
hold on. Slow down. Are you under the impression that Iran has those things?
No, China and Russia.
Okay, so you're saying that it would expand.
Yeah, they would all come.
Might end up in the Iranian
hold on.
hands. I don't know.
It's not. I understand. I'm not saying that I'm looking for a war, but when Trump was in office before, he struck Soleimani, and it didn't lead to a wider war. If they strike the nuclear facilities, it doesn't necessitate a global world war.
I could actually see
The fear
China
is that
and
it ignites
Iran.
the tinderbox.
Yeah, and Russia stays
yeah.
neutral. And then Russia's like,
we do.
what will we do?
This is a great conversation, so I apologize. We got to grab chats, but I just want to say one thing. I don't think nukes on the coastline. I do think, however, if we engage in war with Iran, you will have subterfuge. There will be bombings. There will be attacks on U.S. soil. These people may have already come through the southern border under the Biden administration.
Yeah, they're just waiting.
So let's grab some of your chats, guys.
Thanks, Biden.
Yeah, no joke. Super Pooper says, gonna watch this while pooping the whole time.
Ooh, what a release.
A 2-hour poop? That's long.
Oh, he says, gonna watch this while pooping the whole time on God. I don't know what that means.
Directly on God. No,
does he
like
mean like on
for
God,
real.
like for real,
Yeah,
or
on
does he
God
mean
for
like
real.
on God, like pooping on God, like
No, on
like
God for real.
insulting things
Like
about
it's
God?
Full 2 hours.
All right. Pinochet says helicopter tourism is going to take a hit now.
Oh, that's.
Too soon, Pinochet.
I spoke kind of briefly about the Chilean Revolution when Pinochet came into power, and I think I may have butchered it. I apologize ahead of time. We don't have enough time to get into it right now, but
Ian's
we'll do it another time.
retraction.
All right, here we go. Shane H. Wilder says, I find it funny that, quote, journalists ignore Tim's post when it doesn't fit their narrative of him while focusing on his posts when he is trolling. Guess that's what's happening when their IQ is pudding. Indeed. This is, look, guys, what are you going to do? I know that you can't convey complex thought on X. So I posted on X. The Second Amendment was never intended to protect I forgot what I said, but it was basically knives, swords, and bayonets were never considered arms by anyone ever. Only 18th century muzzle-loaded muskets were considered arms. And someone actually tried doing a community note saying I was wrong. And someone responded being like, dude, the saying only 18th century muzzle-loading muskets is arms clearly identifies this as a joke, making fun of gun control.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about it is it was a commentary on gun-free zones and gun control, only tangentially related to the Texas story. But my point was largely that the right to keep and bear arms encompasses everything. And I got a mixture of, I can't believe Tim is anti-2A. Tim is wrong. Muzzle-loaded muskets aren't the only thing protected. And screw you, Tim, you were defending a murderer. It's just like,
You're not allowed to have fun on X.
you're not allowed to have,
No
It's
fun.
like fishing.
No fun zone.
And every once in a while you fish up a boot, and you're like,
No
that's like
fun
when it's an
zone.
AI bot.
well, I mean, to be honest, I do it because it's trolling. It's funny.
Yeah, you caught a boot.
So
That's what they call fishing. I don't know. It's trawling.
right now, we have this story with Carmelo Anthony that is extremely contentious, and everybody's very angry. Conservatives called for the death penalty on a 17-year-old kid, Carmelo Anthony, over this. They've called for boycotting Give, Send, Go for allowing a fundraiser. Sorry, that's nuts. I don't care. By all means, Carmelo Anthony is likely going to get convicted. He'll probably take a plea bargain because he did not have justification for the use of force escalation that he did. We'll probably figure out what happened with the story. But it's crazy to me that there are people who are like, boycott Give, Send, Go because they're allowing him to raise money. I'm like, what is a legal defense? He's gonna hire a lawyer.
Yeah.
They tried taking away. This is why we don't like GoFundMe. And the people calling for the death penalty on this, that's crazy.
yeah.
They're arguing that. So these people are all wrong. Even who is it? Branca? Am I getting his name wrong?
Oh, Andrew Branca.
Yeah. Said, I think he was saying this. I watched some of it, that it's not justified self-defense because the escalation of force is not commensurate. However, They will make the argument because Carmelo was like 5'7", 5'6", 130 pounds, and there were 4 or 5 guys around him. He's going to argue he was scared of the group, not just the single individual.
Isn't he a track athlete?
I don't know.
I was like, run away.
But it's crazy how hyper tribal this is, where there are people actually arguing it's first degree murder because the school banned weapons, and I'm like, bro, come on.
Yeah.
The right to keep and bear arms includes all weapons, and gun and weapon free zones are nuts. If you want to argue you can't escalate force, I agree. If you want to argue that Democrats can vote weapon bans wherever they want, and you're for them now, I'm like, that's nuts.
I mean, they have gun-free zones all over Times Square.
That's stupid.
Yeah, they don't work.
That's dumb. Yeah, right. There was that Trende Aragua guy who was shooting people in Times Square.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, you didn't see the sign, though.
But that's the point about this case, too. It's like
signs are in English, not Spanish.
the guy brought a knife to a school where knives were banned.
Yeah.
Why did the sign work?
Yeah, I know.
That's why I'm like, this is dumb. I don't care. And I just think it's insane that people are saying he shouldn't be able to have a give, send, go. But also...
Well, they're going to turn it around for, the conservatives' similar pet cause. And they're going to people are going to be like, if give, send, go acquiesces here, then they're going to do it for something else.
Give, send, go's refusing to back down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing, too, is there are a lot of people intentionally lying about what happened. There are a lot of prominent people who are telling the truth, but there are a lot of people that are lying. For one thing, people keep saying it was a tent. It was a gazebo. And I saw some prominent conservatives talking about it, and typically the principal actors, like the larger with larger followings, have been honest about this. There was a thunderstorm. It was after a thunderstorm. There was a tent, gazebo. It's not a enclosed space. It was those pop-up gazebos.
Yeah.
He sat underneath it. The guys approached him and told him to get out. He refused. He then put his hand in his bag and says, "Touch me and touch me." And he says, "What he said? Touch me and see what happens." The dude then grabbed him. And then he responded with, "Punch me and see what happens." The guy then grabbed him to move him, and that's when he stabbed him.
Was it like raining out?
It wasn't yet raining.
Okay.
It began raining after the stabbing. But the police report, the general indication is that he went under the gazebo because it was about to rain. So the argument is he escalated lethal force in a situation that did not require.
Yeah, like he didn't have a threat of getting killed.
The argument from the other side was they put a bunch of fake news up and claimed they were bullies or something, which is also stupid.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to murder your bully. That's not.
But there is a self-defense claim that they're going to make.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell the jury this. The fact that there are people saying it's first-degree murder only because the school banned the weapons. I disagree. Like, second-degree maybe. Grabbing a knife shows that he had an intent to use lethal force at that moment.
Right.
And you could argue second-degree murder.
Violating a weapon-free zone doesn't mean you have the intent to kill.
Yeah. It does.
I don't think it does.
Not philosophically, but legally it does.
Oh, okay.
Right. So they're going to argue that because you were not, it's felony murder. You were committing a felony, bringing a weapon to a school, first-degree murder. Whereas in any normal circumstance, if you are like a park where weapons aren't banned, they might argue second degree, which I still think you're not going to get. This is the other thing too that conservatives not all conservatives. A lot. It's kind of split actually. There's a lot of people arguing, saying he's going to argue self-defense. 5 guys walked up to him and threatened and told him.
He walked up to them though.
He sat down under. So the general idea is it's about to rain. He goes under a tent. They're sitting there. They say, "Hey, you can't be here. You need to go." He refuses. They get up. They tell him to leave again. He puts his hand in his bag and says, "Touch me and see what happens." The guy touches him. He doesn't react. They keep arguing. He then says, "Punch me and see what happens." That's when the dude grabs him to remove him and he stabs him with the knife. So the argument is that was not a justifiable use of force. What's going to be argued by the defense is that this dude is 130 pounds and like 5'6" or 5'7" or something.
Yeah.
So he's a small, scrawny kid. 5 guys or whatever approach him. I think it might have been 4. And start arguing with him and yelling at him. He's under the tent because it's going to rain. His argument is they have no authority to remove him from bleachers just because.
And they were all white?
Yes. They're all white.
So this is going to be a big component of this.
Yep. Which it already is.
Yeah.
So this is what's going to get argued in court. They're going to show him and say he's small, he's frail, he was trying to stay out of the rain. When they approached him, the reason he grabbed his knife is because he was surrounded by four larger boys who were telling him that they actually had already grabbed him. Had touched him at one point. He didn't react to that initially and then said, "Punch me." Now, the question I have for all the conservatives is, the police report says the witnesses conveyed this. So it's hearsay. It's the police report. The witnesses conveyed that Carmelo said, "Punch me and see what happens." Where in the rest of that story is the context of the punch? Why did he say that? Like, what's the?
I don't know. Maybe a guy was.
I think we might get another Rodney King riot if he gets the death penalty.
He's not going to the death penalty. They've already said no. He's too young.
Or if he gets any sort of serious charges.
The left is going to riot for sure.
Yeah.
But what I think is going to come up in trial is the defense is going to argue they threatened to punch him, to which he responded, "Punch me and see what happens." So you need to ask yourself in the police report, why did the witnesses, these are the memorial school kids, the brother of the victim, not the brother, he didn't give a statement because he was, crying and everything. The friend said, Carmelo said, "Punch me and see what happens." In trial, the defense is going to say, why did he say that? And they're going to say because someone made a fist or because someone was going to hit him or something like that. I don't see a scenario where a dude under a gazebo just randomly says, "Punch me and see what happens." Maybe. Mm-hmm. Either way, they're going to make the argument. And I think it won't go to trial. I think they're going to take a plea bargain. Granted, because they've raised like $300,000, they might end up seeing like Ben Crump or whatever get involved. And it might go BLM versus anti-BLM and get nuts.
Oh, that's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah. But anyway, people are tribalists and tribalism is dumb. And I don't care what tribalists think. So be mad. If you can't withstand disagreements, then I don't know what you were watching my show from in the first place. But I do appreciate y'all watching the show. Much respect to those who do disagree and do continue to watch because, that's what we're trying to do.
Because I'm going to disagree. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. That was not even a good thing to say.
Disagree?
I've just been enjoying this, man. And I wish we had more super chats, yeah.
Well, we do.
I'm letting you know ahead of time. I'm going to disagree. You just don't know when.
All right. Kate C., a.k.a. Snake, Plush Kitten, says the Vietnam draft put 1 out of 8 draftees into the Marine Corps. Interesting. Jason Diaz says during World War II, voluntary enlistment for the U.S. Army was banned on December 5th, 1942 by Executive Order 9279.
Whoa.
Too many people, huh?
What?
I'll say this too. We got to go to Uncensored Show. But I'll say one last thing. The U.S. had an Office of Censorship during World War II. And people like to say, never in history have those who have enforced censorship been the good guys. And it's like the U.S. had an Office of Censorship in World War II. Were we the good guys or the bad guys? We were the good guys. And we had Tiffany Cianci on before. And with all due respect, because she's great, but she was wrong when she said the First Amendment was made the first explicitly because it's the most important one. That is not correct. The First Amendment originally was, and I said this on the show, was salaries of Congress, I think, or apportionment. And the first actually was the third of the 17. They whittled it down to 10. She then said, when they chose the first, it was explicitly stated. It was not stated this. This was never stated. The Founding Fathers did not say they chose the first because it was the most important. The Founding Fathers banned blasphemy.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the Uncensored Call-In Show, my friends, over at rumble.com/Timcast. So make sure you smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. And what we've been doing, and I think we're going to keep doing, is the Uncensored Show is going to have a little bit of a preview, actually. We're going to do a few minutes so we can be naughty and you can watch. And we want to encourage you guys to sign up using promo code TIM10. Go to timcastpremium.com. Make sure you smash that like button. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Danny, do you want to shout anything out?
Danny jokes everywhere, and I'm going to be in Vancouver and Edmonton coming up on the road. You can get tickets, DannyComedy.com next week.
Right on.
Holler, dude.
Back to Canada, baby.
Oh, going to the
motherland.
All right. Hey, I come over to Rumble because I think we're going to play maybe this AI crazy video or something.
It's gross.
It is. It tends towards toilet humor, and I'd like to see it.
I hate toilet humor.
Yeah. But anyway, it's great stuff. And I'm Ian Crossland. Follow me on the internet at Ian Crossland. I'll see you.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. Our new record dropped on January 31st. It's called Anti-Fragile. You can check it out on all the streaming platforms and YouTube. Don't forget the left lane is for crime.
All right, everybody. We'll see you all in about 30 seconds at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Thanks for hanging out.